Hey, Tom, you want to read directly off this? Never mind. I'm ready to run your glasses.
I'm getting ready to get my fourth pair of glasses this year.
This year? Wow. I think it's catch-up time,
No, this is just for information. Yeah. It wasn't that time in the policy committee, so I would.
Oh, I got cold. All right, shake your hand, spread it.
I've got pneumonia, so
Really? Water.
I guess.
You know what? I haven't thought that I may have that. That would scare me.
Again, on some like cough syrup stuff. I swear not.
Is that right?
Yeah, I know this
Well, the best way to get rid of it is quit walking.
one day she tried to 30 pills or 5 pills for $30.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Jeff's when she was fighting cancer stuff, she was getting.
It's a nice one too. It's no leather
some dollars
interior.
per pill.
Very nice.
I remember when I
Ooh.
he passed away.
Good reading.
It's like reading the script that they were
3 p.m.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, that's for the, Are they hiring you too?
No, I hire commercial, too bunch of people at work, so
Oh, okay.
they're here, so I'm
Yeah, well,
gonna take the safe way out. Just one.
just let them know that if you could, while you know just for the rate. This has to do with, with the time of this public.
Oh, and then it compares.
So you'll do about
Can't be as vicious. What would those two champagne be? Is that? So it's much less than dogs under the 1 and 2, 100. Yeah.
You know, that's why he's mad. That's why I brought it up at the meetings. I said, it's just bull. No, we're just like
Amber. Always so much to do with
yeah. Look at this stuff. That's so
I have to listen
She said she tried.
That's what I'm missing. Not that I'm not done. That's someone
We'll make it comfortable for all.
Not Mrs.
Say that every time. That's why I don't need it.
When is this?
We got loaded. Should have got that. I got that there. When I go out, I was Red Bull, so could I use it to go get it up there?
Class participation. Well, you should actually, Tom, you should actually pick, Tom, you should actually pick people. So that you get, no, otherwise you get some Republicans in the back row.
That looks like 100 of them to me. Grand prize is $2,000.
Was that a Tiffany?
I mean, ticket prize is 500. Yeah, it's a 50 card.
I know, but Tiffany was easy.
Oh, wow.
No, that's rare.
I can't believe me, I know. Yeah. I do know that too.
Mr. Glass, I went over there. They don't look too shabby, but they do need to do the garage.
Well, I assume that's what I did.
I was impressed. That's a lot of work. Yeah, they said they ran out of weather. Because that's the first thing I asked. But I'm trying to talk to my brother. 2 minutes, I'm with you. Use that as his brother. I don't know how that area against you. But he said something about his mask.
You know, on the very first day of show.
He was running. New angle?
Absolutely.
About some of that James money.
Absolutely. So this is not right here.
Is there a way to make my text again?
It's digital.
Really?
It's a digital camera.
Yeah.
Then I'll help you. Get out there.
Oh, he'll be here later. He's at the half century club. Annual dinner.
My brother.
Okay.
But either they've been Champaign been for 50 years or they claim, or they
I'm telling you, I'm glad they don't get it. Shaking.
you know, Tom Kasich's, he's a member of these, you know, he said they don't follow rules. They just have no rules, no off, they just meet once a year.
You just live a few blocks over.
Yeah, he was in last week to see me. I mean, all this week. So I got a photograph for him, yeah. Photo insurance, he said.
All right, you ready? Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the County Board to order. It's Thursday, October 18th, 2007, and it's 7:01 p.m. Roll call, please.
McGinty.
Here.
Moline. Mosher. O'Connor. Putman.
Here?
Richards. Sapp. Schrader. Tapley. Wysocki.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Beckett. Benzel.
Here.
Betts. Carter. Cowart. Dennitz. Gladney. Gross.
Here.
Hogue. Hunt. James. Jay. Jones. Knott. Langenheim. Weibel.
Here, we have a quorum. Tonight's prayer is a continuation of last week's prayer, the old farmer's prayer. I'm actually going to repeat the last paragraph from last week. My life too will pass from earth, but do not grieve, I say, there will be other birth, when my body is old and all spent, and my soul to heaven has went. Please compost and spread me on this plain, so my body Mother Earth can claim. That is where I wish to be, that nature can nourish new life with me. So do not for me grieve and weep, I did not leave, I only sleep. I am with the soil below, where I can nourish life of beauty and glow. Here I can help the falling rain, grow golden fields of ripening grain. From here I can join the winds that blow and meet the softly falling snow. Here I can help the sun's warming light, grow food for birds of gliding flight. I can be in the beautiful, beautiful flowers of spring and in every other lovely thing. So do not for me weep and cry. I am here. I do not die. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, read the notice of the meeting, please.
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on October 18, 2007, 7 p.m. in the Lyle Childs Meeting Room, Brookins Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Move approval of the reading of the notice.
Second by Mr. Langenheim. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Move approval of minutes of September 20th, 2007, public hearing number 1, September 20th, 2007, public hearing number 2, and the September 20th, 2007 regular session.
Move approval of an omnibus motion for the 3 separate minutes denominated by the chair.
Second by Mr. Mosher. Any discussion? See none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Move approval of the agenda and the addendum.
I would so move.
Second by Mr. Langenheim. I would point out that item B2 from the addendum has been withdrawn. I also want to point out that item A1 did not go through that'd be Justice and Social Services, did not go through the committee, came directly to the board. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The date and time of the next regular meeting is Tuesday, November 20th, 2007 at 7 p.m. Please note that it is on a Tuesday. That's because the following Thursday is Thanksgiving holiday. Public participation. Barney Bryson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I'm going to talk about tonight is I'm going to request that ask the board to take a logical stance on the ban on leaf burning in the county area. Illegal burning of the plastics, things like that, I can appreciate supporting that law. I heard last week, I believe it was, discussions about how the leaf burning destroys asphalt and has high in carcinogens. Many things are high in carcinogens, and I don't think the scare tactics on that should be accepted. I've seen more asphalt and drainage ditches damaged by buses running over it. I've seen other people be very seriously injured by being hit with buses. They're legislated. So instead of putting out a total ban on the burning, I would suggest going a logical aspect, perhaps maybe the second or the first and third Friday and Saturday. It's not the legal people, I think, that are burning or upsetting the people that have issue with this burning. It's the disrespectful neighbors that come in and burn all hours of the night or the day and through the summertime. If we do a logical aspect of it, I think it could be controlled and taken care of very well. If not, then the next shoe to drop will be the awful stuff that comes out of my fireplace, the smoke that radiates from that, and little porgies out here on Springfield, and I don't want to see that happen. Thank you.
Ms. Diane Orr.
Hi, I would like to speak in support of ordinance number 819, amending the Champaign County Public Nuisance Ordinance 468. I've attended the last 2 ELOC meetings to ask for your help in prohibiting burning of landscape waste and garbage in the Windsor Park neighborhood. So if you've heard this before, I ask for your indulgence. But we have a neighborhood of 162 homes. We're situated between Champaign and Savoy. We're bordered by Windsor Road on the north, Park Lane Drive on the south, Lyndhurst Drive on the east, and Prospect Avenue on the west. Windsor Park includes all of the cul-de-sacs on the border streets in addition to those on Melrose Drive. And all houses except for the south side of Park Lane Drive, the southern border, are within 1,000 feet of the city of Champaign. I have been on the Windsor Park Homeowners Association for the past 2 years, and I continue to serve. We have our own organization to try to control all of the requests and complaints through the neighborhood. The residents of our community are generally in agreement about neighborhood issues, with this exception of burning, for obvious health and safety reasons. We sponsor a yard waste pickup twice a year, run by Dave McGath for a small fee, a nominal fee. We've received a lot of complaints about the burning. Some people have complied voluntarily, but there are still several households who continue to burn. I believe that if people were confronted with a consequence for burning and knew they would be breaking a county ordinance with the possibility of a citation, that most would stop burning. We would advertise this as part of a flyer that is on hold for distribution to all residents. We're in the midst of composing our fall flyer right now. Also, I think if 1 or 2 people actually received citations, word would travel fairly quickly, and I believe that it would help eliminate the burning altogether. That's my personal opinion. I'm asking that you help our situation and vote to adopt the proposed amendments to the county ordinance, at least on a limited basis. Most of the burning occurs in the evenings and on weekends. When several people burn at the same time, it might take only one trip from one individual to say how noxious this is to their neighbors. I'd like to emphasize that the majority of the houses in Windsor Park fall within the 1,000-foot stipulation for this ordinance, that the majority of the people in the neighborhood do bag their leaves, try to be good citizens, and again, that having a consequence, I think, would make a very big difference for us, and might encourage people to stop burning. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Mark Sheldon?
I have 2 related issues. I handed out some documents that relate to kind of the end of this story, but kind of going back, last September we approved, the board approved some remodeling in our office for early voting space, absentee voting, and that's wonderful, and that work was completed in April of this year, after the last election, but it's ready to go for the next election, almost ready. It's still a couple things. At that time, we said we were going to, the plan was to take some of the space out of the storage area and give that to our office because we had lost workspace. And so we wanted to move some of our storage that's up near the front of the office to the back and have more workspace. That kind of went by the wayside without any action back in January of this year, at which time we had some discussions, and the board or the County Facilities Committee agreed to look into other ways of getting us more room in our office. And sure enough, in April, we put together a plan that everyone agreed on to increase and take some space out of the hallway, which has more than enough space, and add space to meeting room 2 here and to my office. Well, At the time that happened, I requested from the county administrator, Denny Inman, the list of the pre-qualified vendors that we had passed back in 2005. The county board passed a whole program to have pre-qualified vendors, people who would submit our purchasing policy. If you look at that policy, it says that there will be an application on the website, and each year people would apply to be on that pre-qualified vendor program, and that those people would have certain things that they would have to sign off on in order to be on that program. But the idea was at that time is to use that as a way of expediting or trying to enhance our ability to hire minority contractors. But I also thought at the time, and the reason why I asked for that list in April, I thought this is a great project for somebody, a small businessman and perhaps a minority person, to actually put together this project and do this work, because I knew we were in the middle of the RPC remodel and the supervisor of assessments. There was a lot of work going on, and I wanted to make sure this got done by November 1st. That was the agreement. So I requested that list and found out that list does not exist. The ordinance which requires the application to be put on the website, there is no application on the website. The application itself does not exist. There is a list that I'm not sure where it was obtained from, but it is not a list. It was obtained in the way that the county purchasing policy says the list needs to be obtained, which is each year you have to apply. It's got to be public out there so that anybody in the public can see this application, can know about this program, and put their name on the list. There is no way to get on the list that is at least publicized. Perhaps there's a way, but I've talked to people who would like to be on the list and didn't, and I've told them it's supposed to be on the website. I'm sorry if it's not. So anyway, that takes me to this project, which the pre-qualified vendor list has never been done. We've never complied with the statutes. Now we go to September of this year. In September, we were told at the County Facilities Committee that work would commence, that was September 4th, I think, that work would commence on the project in a week. Okay, that would have been September 11th. Well, nothing happened. And so we went into the County Facilities Committee on October 2nd, and I was disappointed to see that this item was not even on the agenda on the October Facilities meeting. At the October Facilities meeting, I asked Mr. James to inquire about it, and he did. And you can see the transcript of what happened there. And at that time, Mr. Inman said, and this is a verbatim transcript, and I can certainly get you a copy of the tape. It's in digital format. But if you look at line 13, it says, yesterday we came to an agreement with Jones & Jones Construction, Andre Jones, to do the County Clerk Meeting Room 1 and the doors. Well, I was very interested, obviously, and happy that an agreement had been entered into. I was also trying to figure out how that could have been done. And so I made a Freedom of Information request, which you'll see on page 4. And you'll see that was denied and subsequently denied by the county board chairman. The reason why I wanted to see that, a couple reasons. One, I'm interested in the county purchasing policy, the ordinance that created that county purchasing policy, to have that actually followed. It seems like that's a good idea. If we're going to go and have 5 years of debate about a pre-qualified vendor program, lots of legal opinions. If you go back and take a look at the legal opinions you received on the pre-qualified vendor program and why we had to do what we did and why we debated it for so long, you'll see that if we don't do that, your attorneys have told you you're putting yourself in legal peril in terms of proper bidding. In addition, I had an interest in this project and whether or not the bid, as it went out, was going to have some kind of time frame on when this project would be done. We're going to start filing petitions on October 29th. We'll finish filing November 5th. This project is happening in the very area where we design our ballots. This is where our ballot design software resides. This is where our central tabulator resides, which is a large piece of equipment. This is where we do that work. That work is going on actually right now. We're actually recreating the 2004 election in preparation to try to get ahead of the game on doing the 2008 election. So this work is going to be happening in the exact area where we have to prepare ballots that have to be done and sent out to military people in the middle of December. So I had an interest that hopefully the specifications on this project would have some kind of time frame. Well, unfortunately, in the request, I was told that the specifications weren't even available and that I couldn't find out who had even received any specifications. I was told that was not a public record. Well, I don't believe that's the case. I think the law says that things in preparation of creating the specifications don't have to be public record. Mind you, they could be, but they don't have to be. But once the specifications are arrived at, and once we send out a request for a proposal, that becomes a public record. And I think everyone knows we're in Champaign County. We're not in the city of Chicago. We don't go around and just create some secret list of people who we want to solicit for bids to public works projects. We have openness, open and honest solicitation of these bids. We don't have it under these guidelines. So I've heard through a second source that this project may start even tomorrow. If not, it'll start on Monday. I certainly hope that's the case. I don't know because it was supposed to start earlier. It was supposed to start on Monday this week, according to the transcript of the meeting. So I don't know when this project is going to start. We're going to struggle through whatever happens in terms of this remodel because right now it's a necessity. In November starting in August when the new students come back, we will have absolute necessity for the space, and I don't want to see a delay. We're going to have to work around it if this project goes over the November. Well, we know all but certain it's going to go over November 1st. I have no idea when it's going to be done, but we have to have it. So that's why I don't want to stop this project. But I want the county to have openness in their bid process, and I want the pre-qualified vendor list created because it would have expedited, if it had been done, it would have expedited this project immensely. Plus, I just think it's a good idea that when we spend that much time debating this and go through all sorts of legal opinions about the necessity for it, and we put it up there on our website and we announce to people this is the policy, and then we don't follow our own policy, we're setting a pretty bad precedent. So even if some legal opinion, which I wouldn't agree with, but if some legal opinion suggests that we don't have to make bid specifications and solicitations of bids and RFPs public record, even if you could somehow stretch the law, the Freedom of Information Act, in some way to suggest that, the board ought to take the position that we don't want to do that. That when you send out an RFP, it should be a public record. And everyone who wants and has interest in that issue ought to be able to take a look at what we're soliciting and what we're asking for. And so I don't know if that means we have to revisit the ordinance, the purchasing policy, or if we just need something from the board to say that these things should be open. But those are my concerns, and I think that's about it. Thanks.
Mr. Betts?
I know we still have public participation going on, but before the chair closes public participation, I would like an opportunity to make a motion to suspend the rules to permit Mr. Inman equal time to address the issues in public that were just addressed by Mr. Sheldon. So I would ask that the chair recognize me before he formally closes participation.
Let me ask Mr. Inman if he's interested in responding at this time.
Up to you. I just feel that there have been many issues raised here, and I think that at some point they're going to be addressed, and I want to give you the opportunity, if you wish to, respond to them.
Mr. Inman chooses to respond to the board during the beginning part of our closed session tonight.
That's his choice. I will not. I won't make the motion then.
Okay. Mr. Stan Jenkins.
Good evening. I wanted to just take a moment to thank Chairman Weibel for putting my name forward for the Supervisor of Assessments position. I am gratified beyond anything I could adequately express here. So thank you. I know there may be some folks that cannot support my appointment. I understand that as part of the process. I do hope that over time I can earn your trust and your confidence and your respect. My door will be open to any one of you at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. That's the end of public participation. Announcements and communications. Mr. McGinty.
I have some good news from a financial front. We were able to maintain our AA2 bond rating, which, to put it into perspective, only 2 other counties in the state have a rating that's higher than that. And what this means is very good news for the bond sale that really just happened, where we're going to be discussing it in other business later in the agenda. But hopefully this is our last bond sale for a while. But we had an all-in rate of 3.9%, which is tremendous and excellent news for us as we manage our finances moving forward. So kudos again to Deb for her work on that and the continued communication as we walk through some of the minefields that are county government as we stay in contact with the folks to let them know how we're doing. And so that's terrific news.
Thank you, Mr. McGinty. Any other announcements? Mr. Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On a personal note, I'd just like to thank everybody for their cards, notes, flowers, balloons through my departure from the world for a short period of time. I really did appreciate it, and it was very much uplifting. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jay. Welcome back. I have one announcement. There are storm warnings out tonight, so if we do hear the sirens, I'll let everybody know that the storm shelters in the basement will exit through those doors, go down the hallway, then down the stairs to the basement. Both parties are invited, and so is the media. Mr. Betts.
Yes.
Item 10, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Item 10, I move the adoption of Resolution 6192, honoring the long and distinguished service of John Dimmitt to the people of Champaign County. I would appreciate a second, and then I will read portions of the resolution.
Second by Mr. McGinty.
If I may continue. Whereas John Dimmitt has served the people of Champaign County with dedication and distinction for over 39 years, rising from student intern to executive director of the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, and whereas during the intervening years in various capacities, John Dimmitt has played a major role in shaping and expanding the programmatic reach of the Regional Planning Commission to the substantial and lasting benefit of the people of Champaign County, and whereas John Dimmitt was instrumental in the 1984 designation of the Regional Planning Commission as a community action agency for Champaign County, leading to the development of the array of social services presently provided by the Commission, and whereas John Dimmitt oversaw the expansion of the Regional Planning Commission into a provider of technical services throughout East Central Illinois, serving over 100 communities and leveraging over $37 million in investment in community infrastructure, local planning, and economic development projects, and whereas both the creation of the Champaign County Community Development Corporation in 1991 and the East Central Illinois Economic Development District in 2004 are successful results of John Dimmitt's vision and leadership in the field of economic development, along with the 1986 establishment of the Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund, which has generated over $18 million in financing for the establishment, expansion, and retention of more than 150 local businesses and related jobs, whereas John Dimmitt is responsible for the establishment in 2002 of the Champaign County GIS Consortium, its underlying dedicated financing, and the timely and successful fulfillment of its mission. And whereas the expansion of the Regional Planning Commission's transportation planning program is in large measure a result of John Dimmitt's leadership, which has produced a greater than fourfold increase in the program and establishment of the Champaign-Urbana Urbanized Area Transportation Study as the premier metropolitan planning organization of its size in the Midwest. And whereas in 1994, John Dimmitt played a lead role in securing the grant for Champaign County to administer the Head Start program and subsequently enhancing service provision through securing additional funding for the pre-kindergarten and preschool for all initiatives. And whereas John Dimmitt's leadership has been instrumental in promoting community planning goals by facilitating community-wide dialogue and intergovernmental cooperation, including his key role in the successful Town Meeting for Tomorrow in 1976, the establishment of the Metropolitan Intergovernmental Council, and the 2004 creation of the Big, Small, All Community Visioning Project. And whereas John Dimmitt has also been an energetic and effective representative of the county interests to our representatives in Springfield and Washington, leading the successful effort to secure funding for the improvement of Curtis Road, the establishment of a regional economic development district, and funding of numerous other initiatives. And whereas John Dimmitt has also worked to advance the interests of the county through service on numerous boards and committees of governmental and professional organizations, including the Community Action Partnership, Illinois Association of Community Action Agencies, Illinois Community Action Development Corporation, Illinois Ventures for Community Action, and the Illinois Association of Regional Councils, among others. And whereas John Dimmitt continues to serve the community in many ways beyond his professional capacity through the service on the Urbana Community Unit School District Board, the Boy Scouts of America Explorer Program, and in numerous other volunteer capacities. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Champaign County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, as follows: that the County Board hereby recognizes and honors the long and distinguished service of John Dimmitt with the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission. That the County Board, on behalf of all of the people of Champaign County, notes with pride and gratitude his many accomplishments and great service to all of the people of Champaign County from every community and walk of life. That the County Board commends John Dimmitt for his professionalism, sound judgment, and generosity of spirit, extends its best wishes to him as he retires as Executive Director of the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, and expresses its hope that he will continue in new endeavors to provide Champaign County the benefit of his vision and leadership.
Mr. Bennett, please come forward.
I want to, I think that's on. Is it on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. When I started, Ty Clapper, some of you may know him, was my first boss at the Regional Planning Commission, and we worked in the basement of the annex of the courthouse. And I looked around at all the people that had worked at the courthouse forever, and it's kind of hard to think about the fact that I asked Joe for permission to say this. Joe Mintz is here, and Joe's parents were young people working in the courthouse at the time that I started, and boy, those folks are old. And now I'm one of them. I'm one of the old people. I'm a risk taker, and it's been fun that this county board has allowed me the opportunity to take some of those risks to do things for this county, and I truly appreciate it. After I drew maps for 3 years, and Ty Clapper cleaned my desk every night to make sure it was clean. Those of you that know my desk know that Ty hasn't cleaned my desk in a long time, and there's stuff on there that's been sitting on my desk since Ty left, I think. I was allowed to start work in the area of housing planning. And from there, I came to the county board and asked for permission to talk about community development block grants. We were doing the work for Champaign, Urbana, and Rantoul, and I thought that the county ought to get a shot at it. And in particular, Jimmy Hannigan from the northeast part of the county, Jack Lawhead from Mahomet, and Jeannie Marie Wild from Urbana said, we have areas and we'd like for you to do the work. And from there, the Regional Planning Commission turned from a normal, just planning organization to one that actually did things and created brick and mortar improvements to our community. And all the things that you read about came from there, came from our ability to not just produce documents to put on a shelf, but our ability to actually deliver real things for the county, and that's been my ultimate pleasure. It was a career goal of mine to become the executive director of the RPC. Actually, the first 2 times I applied, I was turned down. I didn't even get an interview. And finally, I was named acting director and then went through a search and named the permanent director for the last 10 years. And it's been the ultimate joy of my life to be able to have an impact on this community and in the way that I think we've been able to do. And you don't get it done without a team of excellent people around you. And many of those accomplishments that were read tonight, all I did was coach and allow other strong professionals to do their job. I feel really good about walking out. A lot of people are worried that it's warm out there tonight and it's October, that some location is freezing over because I'm not being drug out on my back by the feet out of the commission. There's a lot of people that think that I was going to be in there till the end. But the commission is very, very strong. You as a county board have a lot to be proud of in what we have been able to accomplish together. And I think that strength is what has allowed the commissioners to attract a person of Mr. Moore's caliber to take my place. And I just absolutely look forward to what he's going to be able to do to make it even that much better. So thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Sorry. Oh, that's right. We do. We have to vote on this. I forgot. Pardon? There was a second. Any discussion? See none. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Guinea was a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any items which you wish to be taken off the agenda? This agenda. Moved by Mr. Moser, second by Ms. Osaki. Roll call.
McGinty?
Yes.
Moline? Yes. Mosier? Yes. O'Connor?
Yeah.
Putman?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Sapp?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Wysocki? Anderson?
Yes.
Benzel?
Yes.
Betts?
Yes.
Carter? Cowart?
Yes.
Dennitz?
Yes.
Gladney?
Yes.
Gross? Hunt?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott?
Yes.
Langenheim? Weibel?
Yes. Motion carries. Committee reports. Justice and Social Services. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Weibel. As you said, the one item under Justice Social Services Committee did not go through the committee, but I would move adoption of resolution number 6227 regarding charges for services at the nursing home. And Mr. Buffenbarger handed out a sheet that makes a comparison of last year, and you'll find the...
Excuse me, Ms. Anderson. Could you have a second before we go into discussion?
Okay.
Second by Mr. Betts. Continue, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, and you'll find the rates on pages 16 and 17, and Mr. Buffenbarger is here too.
Mr. Buffenbarger, could you present your case on, I guess, why we should adopt these rates?
I'm going to start with to pay the bills, Mr. Chair.
Well, that's a good answer.
The rates, you can see over time, the top grid shows how we have structured our charges since fiscal year of 04 And over time, we've consolidated our charges just to simplify billing and payment. And you can see FY08, we have a very modest increase for long-term care, skilled care, and intermediate care rooms. And then the more substantial increases are with the memory care, or also called dementia care services, where our staffing is considerably higher, so the rates have to be a bit higher. We also have the good fortune in the new building of offering free satellite TV to everyone who lives there. We also have our own internal phone system, so we can offer all of our telephone services, long distance, local, for $5 a month to absolutely the whole house. So I think these rates are rather conservative. There's also a rate comparison on the bottom left. I didn't put the names of the other nursing homes, just their locations and their rates, and you can see we still land right about in the middle of our market. And then the smaller grid on the bottom right is just a consolidation of our rates for fiscal year 08.
Questions from Mr. Buffenbarger? Ms. Gross?
What does ARD stand for?
Alzheimer's and related diseases.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Putnam?
Mr. Buffenbarger, the rate comparison part of the table lists the Champaign County Nursing Home, and then the homes that are labeled as XX. That's just because you aren't naming the names, but there are 2 in Champaign, 1 in Urbana, and 1 in Gifford.
Correct.
Okay. The home that charges $325 a day, that's quite, that's like twice as much as what we're charging. Is that a direct, is that a, how fair can that comparison be? That, are we comparing apples and oranges if they're charging twice as much as we?
We're comparing apples to apples, actually. Okay. That's the same type of, exactly the same type of service within our market. It's long-term care services from a local nursing home.
Okay. I wasn't doubting, I didn't mean to doubt you, it just, the number looked so out of whack. I just wanted to make sure I was reading it correctly.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Gladney?
Yeah, I'm noticing that the increase in adult daycare transportation seems to be more than anything else. I just don't know if you could touch on that.
There won't be any increase in the adult daycare transportation charge for this next year. In the past, it went up just in fiscal year 07 in response to Illinois' increase in their reimbursement rates. So our private pay rates had to match the state reimbursement rates. That was the only reason.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Langenheim?
Are these all nursing homes in the county?
No, it's not.
Mr. Buffenbarger, are both the Garden View and Garden View Court, are those both Alzheimer's wings?
They are. They're different levels of care, but they are both Alzheimer's wings.
Right, thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Putman?
One more acronym question.
Okay.
RUG.
RUG.
Based on private pay skilled rate. It's on page 16, right under Garden View Court.
Oh, I'm sorry, RUG's rate. That's a rate that's assigned by Medicare that tells us how much care the person needs. There's a 56 indicator grid that tells us how much assistance someone's going to need, and that translates into how much it's going to cost to take care of them.
But what does RUG represent?
Resource Utilization Group.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all for Justice Social Services.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Without objection, can we move on to policy personnel and appointments? We'll wait. Mr. Beckett plans to come here. You want to wait for Mr. Beckett, Mr. Mosier? He plans to come here soon for facilities. No, I'm sorry. Mr. Benzel, I'm sorry. Would you prefer to wait for Mr. Beckett to arrive?
Since I wasn't at the last meeting, I certainly would.
Excellent answer. Let's move on to policy personnel and appointments. Mr. Betts.
Yes, sure. From our policy meeting, I move the adoption of Resolution 6208, appointing interim supervisor of assessment for Champaign County, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move the adoption of Resolution 6207, appointing Stan Jenkins as Champaign County Supervisor of Assessments. I so move.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Ms. Putnam.
I'd just like to reflect briefly on my almost 30-year association with Stan Jenkins. My first encounter with Stan was when I wanted a special treat for my sweetheart, who later became my husband. For his birthday, I thought we should go hot air ballooning. And I knew that Mr. Jenkins owned and operated a hot air balloon business. And we consulted. I think the wind and weather just weren't right on that day. And we never revisited that treat for my sweetheart. But I just think it's interesting that a person has ballooning in his resume. Stan is an interesting guy, really. He's the only person I know who has both joined the Marine Corps and joined the Peace Corps. And he's the only person I know who has served in two countries, both Honduras and Colombia. And he's been on our Board of Review for 10 years. I appreciate his service. As a former Board of Review member, I know firsthand about the requirements of that job. Parts of it are kind of humdrum and menial. Listening to people complain all day long during the period when you're receiving complaints. But it's also a very rewarding position because you have an opportunity to explain the assessment and tax system to people, and you have the opportunity to make something complex better. And I know that Mr. Jenkins has appreciated doing that, the 10 years that he's served us. I think, best quality that recommends Stan to this position is that he understands the commanding golden rule of assessment practice, which is to apply assessment procedures fairly and equitably to all classes of property owners. That's what we rely on in assessments in our state. And I know that Stan believes in this and has carried it out. The law, the procedures that have drawn most controversy during his period on the Board of Review, of course, are the procedures that govern the award of exempt status. And I admire the entire Board of Review. Stan Jenkins, Dan Stebbins, Laura Sandifer. Before this Board of Review, it included Susan Frobish. I admire my township assessor, Joanne Chester, for proving to all of the people of Champaign County that the laws regarding exempt status will apply to a property owner like Provena Covenant, which owns 68 parcels. Those same laws apply no less to Provena than they would to, say, Habitat for Humanity or the Urban Restoration Ministries. And I know it has not been an easy matter to require Provena Covenant to justify receiving its exemption, the same as Habitat for Humanity or Urban Restoration Ministries have. But I greatly appreciate the groundbreaking work that our assessment officials have done in this regard. During the period in between when Mr. Weibel made his nomination and tonight, I've had the opportunity to chat briefly with Stan, and I know he has some goals for the 4-year term ahead, and we talked about his wish to encourage ongoing continuing education among his staff and cross-training so that every person in that office can serve taxpayers and non-taxpayers, just the public coming to the counter for assistance. And I know he's interested in seeing that the computerized assessment system goes by the acronym of CAMA, which is the Computer-Aided Mass Appraisal System. He would like to see that implemented in all 30 townships in our county, and I admire his goal in that regard. It's going to be anticlimactic for Stan because after our vote tonight, well, he'll go back to the Board of Review office tomorrow morning, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. And he's got the rest of the Board of Review term to complete. I thank him for that. And I just want to urge my Republican colleagues to do the job ahead of you, which is to identify a qualified assessment official who can bring the same team spirit and professionalism to the Board of Review job that Mr. Jenkins has shown us for 10 years.
Thank you, Ms. Putnam. Mr. Betts.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for this nomination. I think it's a sound and wise nomination. We all know there's been some difficulty the past few years for many, many reasons. I don't expect Mr. Jenkins, actually, as supervisor of assessments, to be a completely non-controversial person. He's not been non-controversial when he was a city council member. That's fine. You're supposed to be controversial. You're supposed to have issues. I used to go to Champaign City Council meetings and argue with him. That's what we're supposed to do in a democracy. I think certainly the Board of Review, there's controversy. People are upset. People disagree with the decision on Provena. That's why we have courts and it's being litigated. So I would not expect, as supervisor of assessments, that it to suddenly be a completely calm and non-controversial, hidden away entity. That is not the nature of life in government, nor should it be. What I do think is very, very important is you have selected a person of great integrity. He is going to have opinions, he is going to have ideas, he is going to change things slowly and sometimes quickly. But I think he will always do it with consultation and with wisdom and with the ability to admit sometimes he's wrong. And that's a quality that Stan brings to this that has not always been there. So I really respect this decision, and I think Stan Jenkins is going to be a very, very good supervisor of assessments.
Further discussed. Mr. Mosier.
I had about 3 or 4 other people supported Stan when he ran for mayor in Champaign, and he lost. And Mr. Barker had the wisdom to put him on the Board of Review, and he survived 5 board chairmen. I think that's an outstanding accomplishment, and I wholeheartedly agree that he's a great choice for this job, and I'm glad to see that we've finally done something nonpartisan to get the right guy in the right place.
Mr. McGinty.
Nonpartisan is it. I thought it was an excellent choice as well, and I'd just like to quickly thank Mr. Mentz for holding down the fort in such a quality manner during these past several months until Stan takes over.
Mr. James.
I've only known Stan for a short time, but I just want to say that I appreciate that he's going to have an open door policy, and every time I've talked with him, he's very down to earth and very calm, and so as he goes forward, I hope he does justice to our name, Stan.
Thank you, Mr. James. Further discussion. I will point out, as Ms. Putnam mentioned, that his appointment will start January 1, because that way he can complete his work as a member of the Board of Review for this year. Mr. Betts?
For the record, I would request that the chair actually call the roll so that this could be properly recorded.
Do we have 2 other? We have 3. Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Carter?
I'm kind of disappointed that we never had, I don't know anything about it. So his qualification or whatever, I just don't know anything about it. I wish we had a discussion about this before we come up and vote on it so suddenly.
It was discussed at the policy meeting, the last policy meeting, Mr. Carter.
I guess we did too. When I see you have our assessor resigned. I have a problem with that, Woody.
I think that's legally the way it's legally correct. Is that not, Ms. McGrath?
Yes, sir.
You may not agree with that. I understand that, but
Well, I don't know. But as American, I don't know. We getting so many bad way that we do business to people till it's a shame. And anybody here have any soul can say that Mr. Dietrich didn't resign. He didn't have any other choice but to go. And it's a sad thing that he is getting put in his position on that accord without any more discussion than we had on him. So I don't know. I want to vote for the man. I don't know him. I can't say anything bad about him, but that's the only way you can know a person to discuss is, and what he's about. He's been working for the county. Kind of put me in a hard position here tonight.
I understand, Mr. Carter.
If I had the chance to, just talk about it.
Again, it was discussed at the policy meeting earlier this month, and I'm sure you get the agenda for that.
What was that now?
It was discussed at the policy meeting earlier this month. But I realize you're not a member of that committee, but it goes through the policy committee.
That's what bothers me. A lot of this stuff don't never get out the permanent committee.
You're welcome
They do the discussion and bring it up for us to vote on.
Mr. Carter, you're welcome to attend all committee meetings. I could use somebody else to sit beside me. I try to make them all myself.
Well, out of count from my heart. I won't vote for this, but we're going to have to stop this.
I hope so too, Mr. Carter.
We're going to have to stop this. The committee is going to have to let all the board members know what what direction they taking on the appointment, which we don't do. We just bring them up and say, well, here it is, Take it or leave it. But I'm going to change my heart and do this, but in the future, I'm not going to do this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carter. Further discussion? Call the roll.
McGinty,
Yes.
Moline,
We're voting yes.
Yes.
Mosier, O'Connor,
Absolutely.
Putman,
Yes.
Richards,
Absolutely not, no.
Sapp,
Yeah.
Schrader,
Yes.
Wysocki, Anderson,
Yes.
Benzel, Betts,
Yes.
Carter,
I'm going to have to retract that because I wouldn't feel right. And I don't.
yes or
And I'll
no?
be cheating myself. I'm going to vote no.
Okay.
Cowart, Dennitz,
Yes.
Gladney,
Yes.
Gross, Hunt,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Knott,
Yes.
Langenheim,
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes. Motion carries.
I hope that's not ominous, that noise over there. Can I move the entire agenda at once? I move the adoption of Resolution 6210 honoring retiring county employee James L. Young, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Normally, we would present this to Mr. Young. He could not make it tonight, so I will try to do that at some other event in the near future. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Move adoption of Resolution 6211 approving the granting of a day off with pay to 4 Champaign County employees at the 2007 Employee Recognitions Program, and I so move.
Second.
And would note this has been approved by the unions and what have you, so we're not going to run into an unfair labor practice.
Second by Mr. James. Discussion. Mr. O'Connor.
What days have been designated for recognition? I had them written down and I lost my scratch notes.
I believe next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Right.
But not all at the same time. Two of them are over at noon hour and one of them's in the afternoon, like 1 to 3, I think, on Thursday. It should be on the your weekly calendar, which I think you have on your desk. Actually, you should have a copy on your desk. Further discussion. Ms. Wysocki?
On the weekly schedule, they're all listed for the same time slot.
Are they? Perhaps
They all say 11:30 to 1:30.
Well, then I was wrong. Thank you for the correction. RPC will have one later on. That's why there are 4 days. RPC has not scheduled theirs yet. Ms. Putnam?
For the record, are the hours not 11:30 to 1:30 every day?
The hours are as they are on that schedule. Further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of Resolution 6234, appointing additional members to the Abraham Lincoln Bicentennial Commission from Champaign County. I so move and ask that after the second, that the chair permit Ms. Wysocki to address the issue.
Certainly.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schrader. Ms. Wysocki.
This is, the formation of this Bicentennial Commission is a long time overdue, actually. A number of our surrounding counties between here and Sangamon had created bicentennial commissions, in some cases as long as a year or more ago, in order to start planning, coordinating, publicizing activities relative to Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday in February of 2009. This commission is also somewhat unique in that it is a joint venture by not only the county board but also the cities of Urbana and Champaign. And in the process, each of those entities appointed a number of individuals who will comprise Champaign County's Bicentennial Commission. I think all of you now have found at your desk this evening or received earlier in the week a listing of those members and the entity that appointed them. And for the benefit of our home viewers, I would just simply like to go through that list and make you all aware of who this group is. Champaign County has appointed Angela Ingerson from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Cheryl Kennedy from the Early American Museum, Greg Knott from the County Board, Kathy MacArthur from the Workforce Investment Board, Molly Schoaf, who is from Homer and is a local historian, Vernon Burton, who is the U of I's representative on this board, Nate Dixon, who is a retired member of the Champaign Park District, Carol Lewis, who is currently the president of the local chapter of the Negro Women's Council, and Ruby Weathersby from Rantoul, who has a record of community service and activity that is at least 1.5 miles long. The city of Champaign has appointed Bruce Creamer, who is the city historian, Marcy Dodd from the Champaign City Council, Daniel McCullum, a local historian, Gary Olson, who is the chair of Champaign's Historic Preservation Organization, Jane Quinlan, who is a Champaign resident but is also the regional superintendent of schools, and Mayor Schweihart himself. The city of Urbana has appointed Todd Rent from the Human Relations Office, Dennis Roberts from their city council, Mayor Prussing, and Anka Voss, who is the director of the Champaign County Archives, and she also appointed myself since I'm an Urbana resident. This group will have its first meeting tomorrow morning It will be followed by a press conference where we will talk about some of the specific things that we hope that this commission will accomplish in its time. And I think this is a very exciting proposition that we're about to embark on.
Thank you, Ms. Wysocki. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I move the adoption of Resolution 6209 approving the Champaign County Strategic Plans goals for FY 2008, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Mosher. Discussion. Mr. McGinty.
I am particularly pleased to see this move forward. This is going to be our roadmap moving forward as we map out our goals year by year and establish and keep up to date our mission, our vision, our accomplishments. We keep the public educated. We're going to be, just to let everyone know how this is going to be moving forward, this is kind of an umbrella plan, if you will. Now the action steps from this plan are going to be disseminated, and this started all with the original 10-point plan that Mr. Knott and I worked on, and then we received feedback from all sorts of board members, elected officials, appointed officials. So we have a lot of ideas. Now we have disseminated those initial ideas into our goals for fiscal year 08, but there are a lot of other goals yet to be accomplished after this, and some of the goals that we have for 08 will be multi-year goals. They're large things, large endeavors. We're going to be working with Bob Rich from the U of I, who has educated this board before, and he has agreed to have he and his office work with us on our plan moving forward. This is very good for us, both from a standpoint of their expertise and the price is right. They offer this service to our government agency at no cost as part of the service that they provide. So it's a real win-win for us here. This plan now serves as that umbrella. The action plans will be detailed and then driven down to the committee level, where the work will happen, not only through fiscal year 08 but in subsequent years. So I'm thrilled to see this move forward.
Mr. Sapp.
While I agree with my colleague that it's great to have a strategic plan and some goals and talk about our accomplishments, I guess there's just a couple things in the goals that I have a hard time committing to, either the way they're written or I just don't know that I can support. It talks about the completion of a land use plan, and I know we've talked about this several times, and I'm just not sure that we need to complete one of those. The implementation of a new administrative structure, I know we're looking at that, and it appears that the goal is set to implement that. I don't know that discussion is fully done yet. The study and implementation to increase diversity, although I don't disagree with that, to have another study or to bring forth a study for diversity. I just unfortunately did not participate in a lot of how this was written, but I guess I have some concerns, and unfortunately just not going to be able to support it at this time.
Mr. McGinty.
Those are excellent points, Mr. Sapp. We did put this through committee and full board a couple of times, and I understand the concerns about seeing these be concrete goals moving forward. These are the indications that we've received from certainly the great majority of the board. How, for example, the land use plan ends up, I think is still, it's in such early stages, we're not even sure exactly when it will be done, what final form it will take. But I think the majority of the board has stated that that's a goal that we want to see happen. Also, with the administrative structure, these are things that we have talked about and that we see as goals that we should be working to achieve. And certainly having 27 members agree on how that's going to happen is a challenge, but the majority of the board, in this case, I believe, has spoken.
Mr. Betts.
I respect where Mr. Sapp is coming from, since I've probably been one of the, I won't say recalcitrant folks about this. I have been a bit skeptical and questioning the process and the speed with which things were moving, and I actually consciously sought to slow it down just a little bit so we'd have more think time and more input, and I think that has really taken place to a substantial extent. I think we have to recognize that goals are by definition aspirational. They don't necessarily mean we're going to have a land use plan and this is what the land use plan is going to be. It is a goal that has to be addressed. Even not addressing land use issues is a way of addressing them. I know that sounds odd, but that addresses it in a different way. In terms of the question of diversity, we are a diverse county. We have been talking ever since I've been on this board about issues related to minority hiring, our own workforce in the county. I think for the county to have a strategic plan, it must include, and does include, a recognition of the diversity of the county and that we are going to have to address the ongoing issues regarding minority employment in this county. And you know, I for one could never support a plan that didn't include that, and it does include that. How it comes out in the end is a different issue. I think that's where the process and the argument and debate in this board and in the subcommittees and in the educational process that Mr. Rich is going to provide for us. I think a lot of things are going to happen that are going to be very interesting, and I would encourage you, Mr. Sapp, to come to the policy meeting when we talk about it, and it's going to be in all of the other committees. There's going to be discussions of strategic goals and plans. I think that you're going to see it in facilities, you're going to see it everywhere. So this is not just a policy initiative.
Mr. Knott.
And I think the thing to keep in mind is, you know, really how this started, Brennan and I had a conversation about, at least in my view, a lack of planning on a lot of things, and I've heard that mentioned continually in the 7 years I've been here. So he and I put our thoughts together the first time with the 10-point plan, and you know, put it in the hopper, and this is where we ended up. And I think it's a good start. I think our main intention was to get all 27 members and department heads and elected officials to at least start thinking about it. I mean, it's if we go through the process in 2008. Really, the decisions we make there probably will drive the budget decisions in August of 2008 for FY09. That was our intent, was just to introduce this concept. Probably the next plan will be much more detailed than this one, but it is a starting point. I do respect Larry's thoughts on it, and you know, it's a good start. It's not perfect. It's, you know, if you're drafting it in complete form, and have probably much more with it, but I think it's a good place to start. We had talked about in the committee meeting maybe, you know, waiting and trying to do all this with the committees this round, and I guess felt at the end of the day it was important to get something on the record for us to start with for FY08. And so this is where we start. It's just that. It's just a start. We need all 27 plus administration elected officials to participate in the coming year. And I think a year from now we're going to have a real good document for FY09.
Now, further discussion. Mr. Langenheim.
I have reservations about this in as much as it's sort of utopian. It sounds like one of the Soviet 5-year plans. I wouldn't like to, down the pike, have this thing that we passed in here today called into the debate as a mandate to do some specific thing. In other words, I would prefer, if it were permissible to not take sides, in other words, to with just not vote, I would do that.
Ms. McGrath, is this a binding resolution or advisory or something else, in your opinion?
In my opinion, this resolution says you're approving strategic plans and goals for FY08, so it is what it is.
But a goal is, a goal
the goals are how you define them as you go through the process.
Okay, thank you.
And that's how the resolution is so stated.
Thank you. Mr. McGinty.
Oh, that's just what I was going to say, and the action plans are yet to be developed, and I wonder what the alternative would be.
Further discussion. Ms. Court.
Okay, I agree with a lot of the stuff on here, but my main worry is setting the implement plan to the county. Always has problems when it comes to hiring minorities and doing studies, and I'd like to know what kind of studies were you planning.
Mr. McGinty?
Very good question, Ms. Court. We, at policy this last time, we started the process, basically, of trying to figure out how we were going to do it this year, because it has been in the budget to study that process in past years, and we have not pursued that in the last couple of years for whatever reason. This year we've started by looking at a plan that we've seen before. The city of Peoria did a plan that had, I think, a lot of demographic similarities to Champaign County that allows us to get, a starting point for how we would want to define moving a plan and really implementing that plan in place this next year. It's in there because we want to do something this year. And so it was in our budget in prior years. We didn't do anything about it. The reason it's in there is because we really want to do something about it.
I think that we're either going to do it or we're not going to do it, because like you said, we've been talking.
Go ahead, Mr. McGinty.
Yeah, I think the study's part of it, and then from the study you get action plans to implement that. What the results of the study are. Without studying it, we're not sure what we're talking about from a statistical standpoint, from a goal standpoint, and I think that our goal is to put some numbers around what we want our goals to be and what we want to try to achieve, and then implement that.
From Peoria, and where we're going to.
Good question. Yet to be determined.
We'll work on that.
Oh, man.
Further discussion. Ms. Gross.
I see that this evening we're going to talk about expending some more money to finish paying off the Big Small All, and I wondered if we have done any analysis as to whether our goals and strategic plan is in any way related to the goals and strategic plans that were developed by Big Small.
Mr. McGinty?
Any analysis of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we several of us were involved in Big Small All, either as, I mean, from Ms. Wysocki's standpoint, certainly at all levels. I was a facilitator and kept track of what was going on and saw the end results and took those into consideration when we put this together. So, yes.
Certainly I think it was 7 things that Big Small All came up with as big community goals. Certainly those would be matters that the Environmental Land Use Committee could integrate as part of their committee strategic plan. So, and that's envisioned, I think, in this strategic planning process. I'm like Claudia. I don't want to see the Big Small all the money that was spent somehow get shelved. And I think this is a way to make sure that that report doesn't simply collect dust.
Ms. Wysocki.
For the benefit of this group, I will say that there have been 2 meetings of the Land Resource Management Plan Committee, and obviously both of these meetings so far have been designed to get everybody up to speed on studies that have been undertaken and completed, and they did get as their reading assignment the synopsis version of Big Small All, so they are very much aware, plus the fact that there are I think at least 3 or 4 individuals on the Land Resource Management Plan Committee who were to some extent or another involved in Big Small All itself.
Mr. Carter.
We had the money in the budget. We had a foreman was willing to do it. In fact, we had the contract. All we had to do to sign it, and it got thrown out. So I'm gonna just tell you, I just don't believe you. If it happened, I'll jump up and shout. But I just don't believe you said it.
I hope we get to see you jump up and shout. Further discussion? Mr. J.
This is almost like going out and jumping in my car and starting a motor and taking off and don't know where I'm going. This is pretty vague. I'm not totally opposed to it, but this is really, really too vague. We're jumping into areas that, how much money are we going to throw away on this land use planning, big, small, and all? We've had it proven to us very recently that we can throw all the money in the world we want to at it, but we don't have control over it. The city of Champaign stuck their finger right in our eye, and we allowed them to do it and didn't do anything about it. Why are we spending this kind of money for planning and whatever you want to call it, big, small, and all, and round and short and square, when in fact it really doesn't make any difference? When are we going to learn our lesson and put our money where it will do the people of Champaign County some good? This isn't it.
Mr. Richards.
Is there money in the fiscal year 2008 budget for this diversity study?
There's not. There's not. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I have nothing further from policy.
Point of order. Before we leave the policy committee meeting, I would like to note there's one item. If you look at the summary of action taken at the policy committee meeting, the one of the items on which we did not act was the proposal that we object to AT&T filing a video application with the ICC, and we have a memo on our desk tonight from a Mr. Wayne Williams, who is in the public seating this evening, and he urges us to please, yes, do object to this filing. So, Mr. Betts, I request that the item not acted on October 3rd be placed on the November Policy Committee agenda.
Ms. Pubman will try to do that. The one problem, there may be a time, there's a certain time window. I'm not sure if we can make that window, but we'll check into that. Okay, let's move back to 12B, County Facilities. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologize. Had another commitment earlier this evening. My understanding is there's only one item on the agenda for facilities, and I believe the rules have been suspended so that this could come straight to the board tonight. Is that correct? It's the
yes,
ILEAS?
yes, that's true.
Or do I need to move to suspend the rules?
No.
All right. I recommend adoption of resolution number 6206, approving the contract for ILEAS training center remodeling project with commercial builders, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. James. Discussion. Mr. Beckett.
Of course, as everyone knows, the ILEAS project is a fast-track project because of the sensitivity and timing of funds that ILEAS has been able to obtain for the project. And in keeping with that, the AQBS process was used to select a general contractor. This process takes into account a cost plus fee basis. The cost plus fee approach is utilized in construction remodel projects which have schedule restraints and which do not lend themselves to design development detailed advanced cost estimates. The county and the contractor agree upon a fee for overhead and profit and commence work under a cost plus agreement. Under this process, there's an architect and engineer contract with the county board, which we have. Early general contractor selection. The general contractor joins the project team. The general contractor reviews the existing budget at preliminary design and concurs or recommends changes. The general contractor creates a construction schedule, and the general contractor identifies project bid packages. The bid packages are opened by the project team. The construction budget limits are set based on accepted bids. The general contractor fee is then set based on the accepted bids. The general contractor is the on-site superintendent who supervises all of the work. The cost-plus agreement is converted at the time to a guaranteed maximum price when the scope and the costs are finalized after receiving all the bids. The contractor profit is fixed, and the more time they spend on the project, the lower the percentage return for them. For instance, if the fee were $1,000 on a $10,000 project, they would make a 10% project profit. However, if the project ended up costing $20,000, their $1,000 fee would yield only a 5% profit. The general contractor is motivated to get the project completed correctly the first time. They don't have to cut corners. The advantages for this approach are that the county and ILEAS maintain full involvement in the design process. The construction cost is required to be set prior to construction. There's early contractor input on cost, constructability, and methods, which should reduce costs and maintain the schedule. The costing and the design phase end simultaneously, so redesign is not required. And the county board and the general contractor both have reduced risk. This will allow us to fast-track the construction on this project. The early identification of bid packages will also permit us to contract with minority firms. There's an open book on the bid award and cost, and the county participates in the subcontractor selection, as I've indicated. A single party is ultimately responsible for the construction under the general contractor method, and the guaranteed maximum price guarantees that the total cost plus a fee will not exceed a certain fund. I know it's a lot for everyone to adjust tonight. It's a lengthy contract, but I would submit that this is consistent with what we've been talking about with the remodel of the old nursing home and its occupancy by ILEAS. Thank you.
Discussion. Mr. Knott.
I don't think we, Pies, just so we can cover ourselves, I don't think we ever actually suspended the rules for this or the rates on the nursing home.
Ms. McGrath said we didn't have to suspend the rules. Could you explain?
When you adopted the addendum, you automatically put this item on your agenda.
Oh.
You did not have to suspend the rules in order for that to happen.
In the
So-
exercise of extreme safety, I would move that we suspend the rules to permit the board to consider this motion tonight.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. McGinty. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Further discussion. Thank you, Mr. Knott. Mr. Inman, what's our experience with commercial builders, if we have any?
We have had intermittent experience with commercial builders. They're a smaller GC. They're located in Urbana. They have projects typically that range in about the $900,000 to $1.2 million range. They're a very quality project firm, and I guess I challenge their sanity as they're doing the law lounge at the U of I. We questioned them about that, but they said that, that those same people would not work on this project. So,
are you aware of other projects they've worked on?
They have worked on actually the first remodeling of Brookins 10 years ago in Pod 100. They have worked on some of our other projects on a minor basis. This will be the first time with them acting as general contractor.
Mr. Knott.
And I'll give a testimonial and explain why I have to abstain. I've hired them at the university a number of times. They've done projects this summer for me. They've always done it on time and have done quality work, and because of that relationship, I'm going to abstain from the vote.
Mr. Benzel.
Going back 15-plus years, and when I was in construction, I did many projects with commercial builders. Quality firm, excellent work, always on time, and always pays their bills on time, so I highly recommend them.
Brother, Mr. Carter.
What is the price?
We don't have a final price, as I explained. That's part of the process, is to develop the construction plan, develop a project cost level. We had initial estimates in the $2+ million range, as I recall, from the architects when they gave us, but we'll actually end up knowing what the price is. And what this contract does is basically lock commercial builders into a fee. I think it's like 11.8%.
And as you note on the board action worksheet, we obviously had some significant firms who responded to the RFPs, some of whom we've done work with in the past. And so this is a very good price. It was the lowest one of those major firms.
Am I reading this right? We awarding this contract to this company?
Correct. To commercial builders.
Huh?
We are.
And you don't have all the figures?
Mr. Inman?
Mr. Carter, it's part of the process, the way this works. I understand it's atypical from what you've been presented for on our other projects. This particular cost plus fee process is used typically in the private sector. It's cost plus fee process. That's the type of approach we're going to take on this. We will go through the design with them. They will estimate at the same time that we're going through the finalization of the design. We will come to agreement on those numbers. We will go out for bid. Once those bids are received, then we'll determine what their fee is. But their fee will be what has been negotiated at this point is 11.5% of the construction cost.
At what time do you anticipate we'd have an idea what the costs would be for the project? Just rough guess.
I would assume it would be January.
Okay, thank you.
Let me retract on that. The first bid package is in November for early demolition, so we'll have some basic
that part
information.
of it you know about.
That part of it, but the balance of it, no, not until January.
Okay, thank you.
This is another gift, look like. Now, we just got through setting up here. I agree we were about minority contract. What happened to this?
This particular project, within the RFP that was sent out to the general contractors, it was sent to almost every contractor and was put online for people to participate. The second part of it is within the RFP itself, it tells the contractor who is successful, they will have to submit at least 8 or 9 sub-bid packages who are directed towards minority participation. So we are going to hit minority participation as we are going through the design process.
One thing bothered me, I don't know how you're going to do that if you're going to award him, give him the contract, and then give him the specification afterwards. That don't, to me, that never would. It's just something don't add up here. It's just, and we keep coming up here saying that we want to, but we don't do the right thing to get these entities done, and this is sad.
This particular process protects the county board in the fact that, and I believe Mr. Jay was concerned when we entered into this type of lease agreement that we might get into a project where we're going to remodel the existing nursing home, and maybe those costs would exceed what our funds were available that were provided by Elias. This allows the county board to have a hands-on approach on those costs and control those costs for what the remodeling will be. So during the estimating portion of this, if it comes in higher than what we anticipated it to be, the scope will be adjusted. In other words, when those bids go out to the minority firms and the other firms, we will know better than we have in the past what our cost will be for that. The second portion of it is, and I apologize, Mr. Beckett, to interrupt there. The second portion of it is we will embark with the GC on a program to contact those minority firms and give them a heads up and a constant feed of information so that when it comes time to bid, they will be prepared to bid on this.
Well, we've been through this a lot of times, and nothing really concrete materialized out of this doing. So I just have to wait and see. I don't have any faith in it.
I respectfully disagree with Mr. Carter. When I took over as facilities chair, the minority contracting was 0. I repeat, 0 on the courthouse. We built a nursing home where the minority contracted ended up in the 4 to 5% level. Was it enough? No, it really wasn't. I wasn't very satisfied with the end result, but it was better than 0. I like this one for just the reason that Mr. Inman said, because we actually have some participation in the selection of subcontractors. It's the most control we possibly can have under any method to have some say in who the subcontractors are. I agree with Mr. Carter. We haven't done a good enough job. We have to do a better job, but I think this is a mechanism that gives us a chance to do that.
Mr. Langenheim.
I have a sort of an instinctive aversion to cost-plus contracts, and Mr. Beckett's discussion of the maximum possible cost, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, seems to provide a mechanism to prevent the contractor from increasing the scope of the project to the point where it really gets out of control. Now, I don't know, it's sort of subjective, but I would like to be reassured that this mechanism is actually going to work.
Ms. McGrath.
Mr. Chair, 2 points that have been raised in this contract that I think need to be addressed to the board. First, the mechanism of trying to increase both small business and minority participation in the contracting process was one that was actually established by the Masonry Stabilization Subcommittee as they studied how the work would be done on the courthouse for both the clock and bell tower and masonry stabilization. And that subcommittee recommended then to facilities that they establish a procedure by which bid packages could be controlled in this manner to increase the opportunity for minority and small business firms to be able to work with the county. Secondly, to address Mr. Langenheim's point about control of cost, and I apologize that these contract documents are so long, but one reason they are is because it is redundant with language about how the costs are actually calculated and then actually agreed upon during the bidding process. And Mr. Beckett and Mr. Inman are correct. This is a contract that we asked to be developed specifically to allow you the most control that you could possibly use in controlling the cost of this project. And so you'll see, for example, throughout the contract provisions that talk about what the costs of the contractor are, what the reimbursable expenses are, which, by the way, don't include travel or meals or some of the other expenses we've had problems with. They are very specific as to what the costs are going to be that the contractor is allowed to be paid throughout this process. And we appreciate, Mr. Langenheim, your suggestion, and in fact, try to assure through that redundancy that we would control the costs as much as possible.
Further discussion. Mr. O'Connor.
Dennis, is it fair to say that the alternative process to doing it this way would be a lump sum bid, which is something we wouldn't know whether we were paying too much or not if we did that, because there's no way to itemize this kind of a job?
You're absolutely correct. And the other item or portion of that, factor into that, is the timing of it. It just takes so long to get that process in place.
Mr. Betts first and Mr. Carter.
Mr. Inman, last month at the Policy Committee, you prepared a beautiful chart of the history of minority contracting in Champaign County. And I guess one of the things, and I'm sure other people have saw it that weren't on the committee, but I would ask that maybe if everyone didn't get it, that everyone receive a copy of that, because it verifies what Mr. Beckett described. There have been, and it's not just the nursing home, we've had other projects besides the nursing home in which we have made progress in that area. Imperfect, I'll grant you. But I do think that that should be shared with the entire board if possible.
Mr. Carter.
Your cost plus contract usually is the guy that come up with a labor price, material, markup, and so on. That's the way he gets it. And you supply the amount of work that he's supposed to do, which he don't know, but if it's available, he gets it. If he come up with the lowest price. So whatever is overhead and all that have to go in. That's the way it's done.
Further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I'm sorry, Mr. Knott? Oh, yeah, Mr. Knott abstained for the record.
That's all for facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Okay, moving on to finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6212, payment of claims authorization, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Betts. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6213, purchases not following purchasing policy, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Betts. Please note that Mr. Fabry handed out an updated copy. Discussion. Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody sees here this last item.
Yes.
Pharmacy charges. Why are we paying 4-year-old pharmacy charges?
Mr. Fabry, could you step up to the mic and explain that, please? If you can.
Yeah, you'll have to talk to the sheriff as to why there are 4-year-old charges here. I can tell you that they received a statement in September 20th, and then they sent us the purchase order, but I can't tell you if there was a statement from back then that didn't get paid, or if they didn't send us the statement back then until now. The sheriff would be the one that would have to tell you that.
I guess what bothers me about that is what if it's a mistake? I mean, Provena sends us a bill, and I just have this idea of county government, they get a bill and they just pay it without even questioning it. And I know you guys don't question it, but did the sheriff question it, or is there anybody questioning
Mr. Fabry, could you pursue this and find out more information about this?
Actually,
Or-
Mr. Weibel, these bills for inmate services, we're required to pay statutorily. So.
The question is why is this so late?
Well, I'm just saying there might be a mistake, though. I mean, Provena might have sent it out incorrectly, or why 4 years late? It seems kind of odd to me.
Those records actually get checked against the records of the correctional center in order to determine whether they're accurate. So those are checked by Captain Young and his staff to make sure that they have not been paid previously. I can tell you that they have received bills late from virtually every medical facility in this community, not just Provena. It's certainly bad bookkeeping on their part, but statutorily we're required to pay these if they have not been paid before.
And again, while I can't tell you the specifics of how this happened, I can tell you that the sheriff's department wouldn't have put together a voucher to our office if they didn't follow up with Provena and figure out what it was about.
Okay, and the other question is on the mileage. I know we've had this come up before, but why are we paying mileage? Why are people submitting mileage late all the time, like that? I mean, that's not something the auditor questions either. But why do we have these rules if we'd still go ahead and just pay it if people submit it? And the reason I ask that is it seems to me that if you've got mileage somewhere and you don't submit it for 90 days, there's a good chance that you could.
The rule actually is if you don't submit for mileage past 60 days, you bring it to the county board. It has to go through the county board, that's all. It doesn't mean we're not going to pay, it just means it has to go through the county board. I guess we could say no.
It seems to me it should be a rule that if you're going to have mileage reimbursement, you ought to do it within a timely amount of time. And I don't
I point out, it looks like
3 months is
this looks like it was like 1 or 2 days over.
Well, I don't. Maybe I'm not reading this right, but it looks to me like it's
Well, the mileage
July.
was some 7.
Those 3
Well,
months ago.
July 22nd to 9/19. So that's approximately 2 months. Take into account whether the days of the month are 30 or 31 or whatever. So it's just a couple days past 60 days.
I think if I wanted reimbursed, I would submit it.
Some people, I guess, don't care about it all the time, Mr. Jones. Ms. Putman.
Mr. Jones's points are valid, and if he believes we should revise our purchasing policy, I'm sure Mr. Betts would honor including that matter on the agenda for the Policy, Personnel, and Appointments Committee.
Travel policy.
Thank you. If there is a proposed amendment, I think the appropriate committee for it would be the Policy Committee.
If you have some ideas, please direct those to Mr. Betts. Ms. Gross.
With regard to the pharmacy charges, we've discussed this in the Finance Committee and at other times that sometimes these medical charges bounce around from insurance company to insurance company, and this is just the final, this is what nobody else is going to pay, folks, and it's your responsibility. And who knows, maybe Provena's auditor came to the bottom of this particular one that they pulled out of 10,000 others and said, you never got this $57.12 from the county. Send it over. So it's the medical system and the medical insurance system, probably.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3, the Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution number 6226 to authorize an additional contribution of $15,000 to the Big Small All project from Champaign County, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Betts. Discussion. Mr. McGinty.
I've actually had a few people ask that I send this back to committee for further discussion, so I'd like to make a substitute motion to refer this back to committee.
Second by Mr. Dunitz. All in favor?
Question.
Nope, I'm sorry.
Discussion.
I forgot. Can we discuss this?
You may.
No discussion. Mr. Betts.
I guess I'm wondering, is this a bill that's due, or are we being simply asked to make an additional contribution to pay off the accumulated debt of Big Small All?
This is an additional contribution to pay for expenses that went over, and some of their fundraising didn't come to fruition. So they asked both cities, the university and the county, who all made a 2-year contribution to this project. They requested a 3rd-year contribution from each of those entities.
And that would with the 3, whatever that adds up to, $45,000 or whatever it is, that would be the end of the obligation.
That's correct.
And
I would also point out that the Regional Planning Commission did bear $47,000 of the cost, additional cost.
If we were not to contribute this additional $15,000, how, I presume this organization has actual debts and bills that have to be paid. What will the result of that be?
The bills have been paid, and it's come out of the Regional Planning Commission's fund balance. So you're basically replenishing the Regional Planning Commission.
Okay. And this was, in terms of the RPC that has kind of basically ran this was a unforeseen overage, or a I'm trying to understand how the 2-year became 3-year.
Actually, I think I'd ask Mr. Dimmitt to talk about this.
Oh, he's retired.
Not yet.
Oh, he's not retired yet.
You get a plaque.
The shortage is made up of 2 factors. The first is that, as the administrator indicated, the fundraising efforts, particularly in the private sector, did not materialize. And also, partway through the process, you may recall that we had a significant divergence of opinion between the Chamber of Commerce and the ag land preservation advocates. And so the Big Small All organization made a conscious decision to take an extra 2 months, scheduled a substantial number of additional meetings, and spend a lot more money and time to bring those 2 interests to as close an agreement as we could.
Mr. Langenheim.
Is this in part or in total a consequence of the Chamber of Commerce withdrawing from support of Big Small All?
Of the total loss, approximately $5,000 is due to the Chamber not paying its final installment. That's about 5%.
Third of it.
No, that's about 5% of the total amount that we were in deficit. The cities and the university have already contributed.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Dimmitt, I just want to make a comment. I served with you for a few years, and I just want to let you know I thought that was a great committee that we had, and I enjoyed working with you, and I'm going to miss you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Mr. Benzel and Mr. Betts.
What was the total budget for this project? I guess final budget. What was the total final cost?
Oh, boy. Approximately $350,000.
I guess my concern with this is, why are we just now hearing it? I mean, why weren't we told a long time ago we're running a serious deficit here and we're going to be asking for funds, instead of coming to us at the last minute and saying, we've paid the bills now, we'd like you to reimburse us?
Well, this may be the last that the full. This may be the first that the full board has heard about it. But if you recall, you had a big, small, all steering committee and a sponsors council, and they were aware of it throughout the entire process. And each governmental entity that made up that steering committee, their representative was fully informed along the way. And they participated in the decision to move forward with the extra time and effort.
Mr. Betts, do you still have a comment?
I guess I don't. If it's going to go back to committee and that solves it, let it go back to committee.
Further discussion? Okay, motion to send this back to committee. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Back to committee.
Item number 4, the Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution number 6228, an emergency budget amendment for $925,760. This is revenue and expenditure anticipated to occur in fiscal year 2007 for the ILEAS project at 1701 East Main, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call.
McGinty?
Yes.
Moline? Mosier?
Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Putman?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Sapp? Schrader?
Yes.
Wysocki? Anderson?
Yes.
Beckett?
Yes.
Benzel?
Yes.
Betts? Carter? Cowart? Dennitz?
Yes.
Gladney? Gross? Hunt?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott?
Yes.
Langenheim?
Yes.
Weibel?
Yes, motion carries.
Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution number 6229, an emergency budget amendment for $94,855 to pay third quarter unemployment charges, pay general corporate workers' compensation premium for the remainder of fiscal year 2007, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call.
McGinty?
Yes.
Moline? Mosier? O'Connor? Putman? Richards?
Yes.
Sapp? Schrader?
Yes.
Wysocki? Anderson?
Yes.
Beckett?
Yes.
Benzel?
Yes.
Betts?
Yes.
Carter? Cowart? Dennitz? Gladney? Gross? Hunt?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott?
Yes.
Langenheim?
Yes.
Weibel?
Yes, motion carries.
Item number 6, Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution number 6230, an emergency budget amendment for $150,000 to accommodate receipt of grant award for expansion of preschool for all programming, and I so move.
Second by Ms. Cowart. Discussion. Roll call.
McGinty?
Yes.
Moline? Mosier?
Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Putman? Richards?
Yes.
Sapp? Schrader? Wysocki?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Beckett?
Yes.
Benzel?
Yes.
Betts? Carter? Cowart? Dennitz?
Yes.
Gladney? Gross? Hunt?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott?
Yes.
Langenheim?
Yes.
Weibel?
Yes, motion carries.
Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution number 6231, an emergency budget amendment with an increased appropriation of $18,000 and an increased revenue of $13,000. This appropriation of funds is required for the County Clerk Meeting Room 2, Brookins Bathroom Doors Remodel Project. And revenue to cover County Clerk remodel is from a transfer from the the Election Grant Fund, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion. Mr. Betts.
Does this have any relationship to this transcript and what have you that Mr. Sheldon presented tonight? Could someone tell me the relationship between this document and that?
This is the budget amendment which creates the budget to accommodate that remodeling project out of this fiscal year's physical plant budget.
I guess what I'm getting to is I'm still trying to figure out what the issue was. I'm dying for someone to tell me what this was about.
I'll try.
Okay.
Mr. Sheldon and I exchanged some emails about this. Mr. Sheldon has his own belief about the methodologies that we use at facilities and at the county to do these small projects, and I think this reflects his concern that the last project that we did with the county clerk's office did not occur as quickly as we predicted. I don't know if Mr. Inman will end up eating his words or not, but he basically was suggesting that he thought this project could be done within a 30-day window, and he was hoping that when Mr. Jones was done with another project, that he would, which was in about 10 days from that meeting, he would start immediately on this, which would be somewhere in the middle of October. I think he even said the 15th of October, and then we would be done somewhere in the middle of November. And so I think Mr. Sheldon is reminding us so that he can come back and say, I told you so at some later time. That's sort of my guess.
Mr. James.
I see that money's going to be for the bathroom doors and the remodel, but one quick question I would have, because I just went to the men's room, is this going to in any way impact the water?
No.
Well,
sorry.
I'm going to have to start bringing bottled water to wash.
Ms. Gross.
I see that this money is going to come out of the election grant fund. Does the upgrade of the bathroom doors qualify under the election grant fund?
That is a good question, Ms. Gross.
Actually, $13,000 was budgeted in revenue last year for the first phase of the county clerk's remodel project, and that revenue has not yet been received by general corporate. The combination of last year's project and this year's project for the county clerk's remodel does equal at least $13,000.
Further discussion. Mr. Betts.
Just so that the record is clear, Mr. Inman, you did submit the bids and everything the way the Facilities Committee asked you to do.
From my point of view, yes, absolutely correct. On our construction projects, on these type of projects, it is not what you would expect, a large binder and et cetera. In fact, I know of no government agency or person or anybody else who would go to the time to create a manual like that for a project of this size. What was presented to Mr. Jones in a meeting, and other contractors were invited but chose not to attend, were the plans for these particular areas, a tour of the facility, and then he would take his takeoffs to create the proposal, which we received on October 7th from Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones's proposal is a tad bit high, and we've been working with him to get it down to within what we believe is the correct cost for this particular project. This all goes working with the minority firms on estimating and getting the appropriate paperwork in.
There were minority firms involved.
This Jones & Jones is a 100% minority firm, yes.
Was that firm selected through that list that it was raised as an issue in the discussion earlier this evening?
Yes.
Then what? I was told less than 2 hours ago that list doesn't exist.
I'm going to turn to Susan because I don't want to.
I'm just
am
telling
I
what
on
I
safe
heard.
ground talking about this or not? I mean, just it has. I mean, for the public to understand what
Denny, I'm
the
not
problem
trying
is.
to put you on,
No.
on the spot,
No.
but I'm trying to get an answer
Yeah.
to something that is concerning me when I get this memo and told that we do not have a minority hiring preferred vendor list.
I am once again in the middle of a situation which I handled poorly the last time, so that's why I'm a little guarded on this particular time, is on a FOIA request on whether I am at liberty to go ahead and talk about it. Because what you're asking me has to, from my point of view, has to do with the FOIA request, which was rejected.
We have at least a yes or no answer in terms of we have a preferred vendor list.
Yes.
Okay, that's what that answers the question.
Further discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion
Or
carried.
no,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
roll call.
Roll call, I'm
Amendment.
sorry.
Roll call
Thank you.
vote.
Roll call.
McGinty,
Yes.
Meline, Mosier, O'Connor, Putman,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Sapp, Schrader,
Yes.
Wysocki, Anderson,
Yes.
Beckett,
Yes.
Benzel,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Carter, Cowart, Dennett, Gladney, Gross, Hunt,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Knott,
Yes.
Langenheim,
No.
Weibel.
Yes. Motion carries.
Item number 8, the Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6232, an emergency budget amendment for $170,000. This is an amendment to allow the purchase of new phone equipment for all county offices out of the fiscal year 2007 budget, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion. Ms. Gross.
Why does this qualify as an emergency budget amendment?
Recommendation was brought to the Finance Committee with regard to replacing the county's phone system, and a budget amendment wasn't prepared for Finance because a recommendation about the replacement process and whether it would be done in '07 or '08 was brought to the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee determined that it would be best to go ahead and do it in 2007, which basically at that point the Finance Committee directed the preparation of a budget amendment. It's called an emergency because you didn't actually have the budget amendment before you to vote on. You voted on a recommendation. But this budget amendment is a result of the recommendation that the Finance Committee did vote on.
Go ahead.
Is there money in the budget for this? I mean, is there money available for this?
The anticipated ending fund balance for the general corporate fund at this point in time for fiscal year '07 is about $250,000 revenue positive. After this budget amendment, obviously, it will bring it down to just about $80,000 projected revenue positive. Again, I would remind you that's a projection. We don't know until the end, but all indicators are that the general corporate fund should still end this fiscal year balanced or slightly positive.
Mr. Richards, you have a...
My question was basically answered, but I'm in favor of this. I think it's a great plan, but I was wondering if Ms. Busey or Mr. McGinty could explain to the full board exactly what it is we're going to be doing with this money.
I'm happy to do it. I mean, in short way of putting it, the RPC was the one who had an upgraded phone system. They already saw great benefit from it. We saw a return on investment from this investment in less than 3 years, I believe. Is that correct? So that making this expenditure while there's money in the budget made good fiscal sense. If we could see the benefit both operationally and fiscally from that enhancement countywide at this time.
In other words, we'll get better phones and it'll cost us less. Mr. Langenheim.
Was this considered in committee, the desirability of doing this, or was this an administrative?
No, it came out of committee.
Came out of committee.
It came from committee. Ms. Cowart.
Yes, is any of the offices going to reimburse the county?
The general corporate fund, which funds all of the general corporate departments, is going to pay for phones for all of those departments. The RPC paid for their own. Animal control will pay for their own. Highway will pay for their own. This is to cover all of the general corporate fund departments, though, and it will create a system where we have centralized phone services so that all of the phone, other than long-distance charges and 411 charges, will be paid for by one office, which will streamline payment of these bills for the county in the future.
Further discussion? See none, call the roll.
McGinty?
Yes.
Meline? Yes. Mosier? O'Connor?
Yes.
Putman?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Sapp? Schrader?
Yes.
Wysocki? Anderson?
Yes.
Beckett?
Yes.
Benzel?
Yes.
Betts?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Cowart?
Yes.
Dennett? Gladney?
Yes.
Gross? Hunt? James?
No.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott? Langenheim?
Yes.
Wybo.
Yes, motion carries.
And finally, Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6233, an emergency budget amendment for $11,000 to cover postage expense through the end of fiscal year 2007, and I so move.
Second by Ms. Osaki. Discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
McGinty.
Yes.
Moline. Mosier. O'Connor. Putman. Richards. Sapp. Schrader.
Yes.
Wysocki. Anderson. Beckett. Benzel.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter. Cowart. Dennett. Gladney. Gross. Hunt. James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones. Knott. Langenheim.
Yes.
Wybo.
Yes, motion carries.
And that is all from Finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGinty. I'd like to call a 5-minute break so the Democrats can go to the bathroom. I know all you Republicans have done it already.
I'm going to tell Chad JJ can't protect anymore either.
Hey, Steve. Good. How you doing?
Yeah, I heard meteorologists saying it's
they don't do any good. That's
late season.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it's really So is that a forfeit? That's a forfeit. Well, I think we'll be too active. You're all right. Yeah, I am. We'll be all right. We'll be exactly. Yeah. Not bad. Sir? I've got the flu real bad.
Oh, you do? And you didn't wash your hands?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I heard that.
My nose. That's why I said that.
You need more bottled water to get a match sponge.
I know it. Where are you at? That's a pill. Just a pill.
Yeah, bucket. Bring a bucket in there. Toilet brush. Clean.
I'm coming forward.
Okay.
I'll dig that hole and get some tape.
Oh, really? Yeah, you dig a hole.
That's right.
Trying to buy equipment, everything else to farm. That's okay. As deep as hole as you need.
I don't have.
You'll have all water bill underneath.
I don't have. I got friends who go out at night and hit over Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you laugh about that. That's happened. That's happened.
You're going to warn me that we have to search.
No, that's happened before.
That's it.
There's rules. My neighbor used to be neighbor got done farming there today. You're going to go back down, right? You just jumped on it. Part of this thing.
People do that.
It's true. I think it happened. You want more than a folk tale. It actually happened.
You may well end up being a great surprise with assessments. Hey, there's the first. I'll say get one of that.
Brad.
Earlier.
Counties, back then, counties are done.
The first county in the state of Illinois was called St. Clair County because
But like I told you,
and he knows something with his family, so he didn't count. About how they were all saying about the state of Big Grove in favor of
I thought it was different, but then Jennifer said, well, no.
Because they said over here, it was on the field, and this is right, so we need to stand
I saw all the can you make sure that the correction is sent out? I'd like to make one announcement quick before we get back to the agenda. Turns out that I was correct. Earlier we talked about the employee recognition event. On Thursday, October 25th, the nursing home employee recognition event is from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, not 11:30 to 1:30. Please note that correction on the weekly calendar which you received if you plan on attending that event. On the monthly calendar, that's for November, would be on there. Okay. Let's go back to Highway and Transportation. Ms. Cowart.
The Highway and Transportation Committee has nothing for board consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Cowart. Ms. Wysocki, Environment and Land Use.
Two items from ELUC this month. One is I recommend the adoption of Resolution 6235, which is authorizing an intent to request county-wide public transportation assistance funds, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Langenheim. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The second, I move the adoption of Ordinance 819, which amends the Champaign County Public Nuisance Ordinance 468, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Ms. Putnam. Mr. James.
Can we have a roll call vote on that?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Jones.
Can Mr. Hall come up to the mic?
I certainly can, I think. Are you willing, Mr. Hall? I'm not asking if you want to.
We've discussed this issue extensively in ELUC, and I just want to state for the record, and like Mr. Hall to verify, that this ordinance does not impact existing burning regulations out in the county. It's just really for within 1,000 feet of Champaign and Urbana city limits. Can you kind of extrapolate on that?
Landscape waste is within 1,000 feet of Champaign and Urbana. Household waste is within a mile of Champaign and Urbana. Beyond those borders, it adopts what I like to think of as common sense standards for burning everywhere. You can't create a visibility hazard on roads. You can't burn on the roadway without the approval of the highway commissioner. And any burning has to be in accord with the requirements of the local fire protection district. Those are just some common sense things that if the county is going to adopt a burning regulation and they don't include, I think that would be an error. That's why I recommended it. The only prohibitions as such, though, are within a mile of Champaign and Urbana for burning of domicile waste and within 1,000 feet of Champaign, Urbana for burning of landscape waste.
I just want to state again that this really isn't going to impact people out in Sedoras burning their leaves.
If people, well, it won't affect anybody within an incorporated area.
Right.
But people who live just outside Sedoras, if they're burning their leaves in a reasonable way, in accord with what their fire protection district wants, in accord with what their highway commissioner is concerned about, this ordinance will do nothing.
Mr. Hall, could you state again what domicile waste is?
Basically, it's all household waste except for food and product garbage.
Okay, so it could be like plastic containers, garbage bags, or look for an example. Throwing out furniture, a mattress, would that fall in that category?
It's all refuse generated in a single-family domicile except for food and food product garbage.
Okay.
So plastics that are pursuant to food products, you couldn't burn.
Okay. Mr. Schrader.
If Mr. Hall could please stay, I have a question. On 4D, pertaining to adding the following subsection 4.1, county official powers and duties, the chair of the county shall have authority to prohibit all open burning of landscape waste in the event of emergencies, and so on and so forth. I'll dispense with reading. This is something that was just added.
Actually, that's been in there from day one.
It's been, okay. I just want to clarify for that. And also, where exactly did this language come from?
The language on 4D?
Yes, 4D.
It came from a review of other regulations, and while for the 36 years that I've lived in Champaign County, there's never been an instance like that that I'm aware of. I can't imagine it happening, and yet is it possible that you might have a situation like that where the county board would prohibit burning of landscape waste? Do you want to rule out that possibility?
Would it be like in a severe drought or something, perhaps?
That's what I'm imagining.
I guess I don't have a problem with, well, I guess I could support the rest of the ordinance, but this is one I really have a problem with, because I mean, you've even stated, I don't foresee anything, even in a severe drought. Depending on the time of the year, not exactly sure when that would happen. I just think it's some serious power for whoever is the county board chair, or whomever is the county board chair, that's basically elected by 26 members, 27-member board, to have pretty much an exclusive power. I'm not sure of anything, that could be wrong, anything else in any of our ordinances or anything else that grants county board chair that kind of power. So I actually have a real problem with this section, and with that, I'm not going to support that.
Okay, and that has been in there throughout the whole process.
Ms. McGrath, do you have a comment on that particular article?
Mr. Chair, to answer Mr. Schrader's question, this is actually a provision that has been adopted in 3 other Illinois counties that have revised their nuisance ordinances in the past 2 years. And it was a provision that was adopted in McDonough, and I don't recall the other 2 counties without my notes, but in those counties, the provisions were adopted pursuant to public hearing. That's where this particular provision came from. It is a policy issue, so it's up to you all to determine what you think appropriate, but that's where the language came from.
Mr. Schrader?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just concerned about the vagueness of it, because it's very broad, very general. I mean, it really, except for fire safety issues, potential fire safety issues, that's the only basically general, specific term. I have a problem with that broad language.
Mr. Dunitz.
I agree with Mr. Schrader about that, and I'm on ELUC, and I did miss that, and because that's in there, I won't support it either, and I would move it to be sent back to committee to do something about that.
Second.
Mr. Beckett, discussion?
I would suggest if the folks would withdraw that motion, to make a motion to strike 4D1. That allows the county board to state as a matter of policy whether they want it in or want it out. So if the folks who made the motion to send it back to committee would withdraw that motion, I'd be happy to make a motion to strike 40 from the ordinance.
May I point out, Mr. Beckett, that also item 2N4 is related to that?
All right, I'd strike that too.
Mr. Dunitz?
Actually, I'm not inclined to do that. I think it needs to go back to committee because there's an awful lot in here, and we've missed some already, and I don't want to miss any more.
Okay, further discussion on the motion, send it back to committee. Oh, Mr. Moline.
The majority of the complaints that we've received, as I've stated before, have come from that Windsor Park area, which is unincorporated. It's like a donut. It's between Savoy and Champaign, and I'm concerned about fall is the time when people are going to start burning very, very soon. I mean, the leaves are just beautiful right now and ready to fall. So I think that it would be a service to the people in that area who have come to us many times asking for this change, which is just in accordance with the Illinois EPA nuisance, burning ordinances. I mean, I'm happy to strike out the part about the board chair, although it seems to me it's just common sense. It hasn't been used in many, many decades, but the bulk of this is leaf burning, and that's the main problem that we've heard from constituents about. And I think that we should address that concern as soon as possible.
Mr. Jay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I had indicated before on this issue, I have absolutely baffles me why the county would ever even want to tackle this kind of a problem. It's already under the control of the Illinois EPA. The nuisance ordinance within this 1,000 feet is one thing, but to put this clear across the county, and that's what you're really doing. You're using this 1,000 feet thing to get people suckered in, but in actuality, we're talking about the complete county. I'm telling you, you're opening up a Pandora's box that the county has no business in and has no way to enforce it. And we don't need to do that to people. It's a mistake. We need to stop it right now and do the things that we can do to help people.
Mr. Langenheim.
There are a few statutory powers outlined in emergency situations for the county board chair, most of which have to deal with emergency response in a situation such as a tornado, pandemic, flu, or other kinds of very specific emergencies. Other than that, the county board chair's powers are fairly limited by statute because you're a non-home rule entity. So most of those provisions are specifically set forth in statute.
My experience with this sort of thing is in western states where almost any executive of a city or a county or a state
Without the ordinance, the county board chair would not have that authority because we're not a home rule unit.
Ms. Putnam?
Mrs. Milline's comments have convinced me of the need for us to vote on this tonight and not...
I was remind you we're discussing the motion to defer back to committee.
And I
That's
said
on the floor.
this has convinced me of the need to not defer this until November 20, which is when the next opportunity would be.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Anderson?
I agree with that. Mr. Jay, however, made comments that I was going to kind of comment further. He was talking about extending it throughout the county, but in reality, the people who have come to us have been this Windsor Park area and the area just to the east of us in Scottswood. It's been a couple of years, I think, maybe when the young woman came who had I think it was the asthma problems and had people burning right next to her, and she came to us a number of times with pictures, and I think the 1,000 feet takes care of the areas that around the cities that we seem to get the complaints from, and for that reason, I support this and hope that we could do it tonight because of the comments that Ms. Moline made about people starting burning fairly soon.
Mr. James?
We had this same controversy in Rantoul at one time. They did pass an ordinance to do away with burning, but now they regulate it on certain days and what have you. But my point being, what will happen is those that do choose to burn, if they have no pickup or means to get rid of stuff, their area becomes unsightly, and then we'll have another issue to contend with. Personally, I agree with Jay. We're taking away, telling people, and the Illinois EPA already has their laws, and even as plugged up as I am, if I was to go home and someone was burning leaves, I'd stand there and smell it because I like it.
Further discussion, Mr. Jay. Is that a retort to Mr. James?
Just no, I'm not going to talk to him anymore. Just for clarification, I'm going to get you off the hook. If there's a disaster in our area, most of the fire chiefs can take care of whether or not you can burn if it's a dry situation or something that's a national disaster or local disaster. That's not a county board chair.
So you could declare no open burning.
I can, as
in your district.
The fire chief at the city of Champaign can, the fire chief in Urbana can, the one in Rantoul can. That's taken care of. That's my very point. These things are already covered. We're trying to add bureaucracy that we really don't need.
Okay, what I would do is
call me if you got a question.
If it doesn't pass, I'll have Mr. McGrath check it out, make sure there are no windows where we don't have areas that aren't covered. Further discussion. Mr. Betts.
I think this is going to be a close vote, and just because it's going to be close, I'm sending it back.
Are there another two people who'd like to have
Roll call.
Somebody else? Third person? Okay, we have it. Further discussion? Roll call vote.
This is on sending it back to committee.
Send it back to committee, correct.
McGinty?
No.
Moline?
No.
Mosier?
Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Putman?
No.
Richards?
No.
Sapp?
No.
Schrader?
Yes.
Wysocki?
No.
Anders?
No.
Beckett?
No.
Benzel?
Yes.
Betts?
No.
Carter?
No.
Cowart? Dennitz?
Yes.
Gladney?
No.
Gross?
No.
Hunt?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott?
No.
Langenheim?
No.
Weibel?
No. Motion fails. We're back to the original motion. Mr. Beckett.
Move to amend the ordinance by striking 2N4 and 4D.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Pardon?
County board power. County board chair.
This takes the power away from me so I can't burn hot dogs when I want to. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion to amend?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Back to the amended motion. Ms. Putman.
I very much appreciate the members of the public, two of them who spoke articulately to this subject, and obviously one faction will be disappointed by the vote, but I appreciate people's input nonetheless.
Mr. Betts.
I'm going to ask for a roll call again because I think this one, there's so many people that are concerned about it that I think it'll be close, and I think everyone should have their vote recorded on it.
Thank you. We have one request. Mr. Beckett's two. Mr. James is three. Any further discussion? Mr. Beckett?
In spirit, this is one of those things that I feel like I would be running around hugging people, taking care of them, feeling bad for the folks who the smoke bothers. But I truly, truly don't think that this is something that is enforceable by the county. I just can't imagine the sheriff with their burning leave Gestapo out there trying to take care of this. I think it's well intended, but I think it's just an unwise decision.
Ms. Gross.
I tend to agree with Mr. Beckett that we do not have the staff to enforce this, and I would hate to have the sheriff come back with a budget request to add an additional deputy to take care of burning in the county. I also don't have a lot of sympathy with people who live on the borders of Champaign and Urbana and choose not to come into the city. If you want city services, be part of the city.
Ms. Anderson.
When, I forget her last name, I think it's Diane Orr that spoke to us this evening. When she came to us in committee, she spoke a bit longer, and I think she suggested that some of those people that are doing the burning, if they knew that it was illegal, they would not do it. The fact that they feel they can do it, they don't want to be illegal, and she thought that even having the ordinance would help to take care of that. And I would like to make the comment, too, with asthma being really very much on the increase in the whole country, when you see people come into the doctor's office or the hospital emergency room really unable to breathe until they get a shot of adrenaline or some other medication, it can be very frightening and scary. I fortunately don't have that problem, but I think we have to recognize that there are a lot of people who are forced to stay in their house many times and not be able to go outside, and it's a very frightening thing and when it happens to you.
Mr. James.
Ms. Anderson's comment about if they pass it and people will think that it's illegal, they won't do it. There's many, many laws in this country that are broken every day, and that concept just doesn't fly. I think that I get so mad when I see people running stoplights and what have you, and we have many laws, and for a fact I get madder when I see a police department sitting there doing absolutely nothing about it. So I think if we pass laws all the time, we should have the teeth to enforce it.
Mr. J, one more time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but I couldn't let it pass. Mahomet, the village of Mahomet, has a burn ordinance, and they, like Grant Toole, found out, first of all, they wanted to stop all burning of leaves, and Mahomet's full of leaves, I can assure you. You can't do that unless you've got an alternative for folks. There has to be a viable alternative. We did not have that. So the village, in their wisdom, made Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday burn days. And that sounds good, but what it really does, then it condenses the burning to Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. And honest to goodness, sometimes as you come in 74 on a Saturday afternoon in the fall of the year, as Ms. Moline indicated, you cannot see the village of Mahomet for the leaves because we do have a lot of trees. But I will tell you that any responsible fire department would put a fire out, Mrs. Anderson, if a person really had a medical problem. The problem is you actually end up having neighbors versus neighbors. They don't like it because you're burning, and so they may call and say, well, my son's got asthma. Our fire department will put a fire out if there's a medical problem and it's affecting them. A person with asthma can also stay in their house with their air conditioner on. So you have to be careful, and I'm telling you, it's a no-win situation, and the county has no business trying to police it. Believe me, I've been down this road. Still going down it, by the way.
Further discussion? Let's have a roll call.
McGinty?
No.
Moline?
This is to vote for the ordinance.
This is the amended, right?
The amended version.
Right.
Yes.
Mosier?
No.
O'Connor?
No.
Putman?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Sapp?
No.
Schrader?
No.
Wysocki?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Beckett?
No.
Benzel?
No.
Betts?
Yes.
Carter? Coert? Denitz?
No.
Gladney? Gross? Hunt?
No.
James?
No.
Jay?
No.
Jones?
No.
Knott?
No.
Langenheim?
Yes.
Weibel?
Yes. Yes. Failed. Motion failed. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. White.
Ms. Putnam?
Before we leave Environment and Land Use, I wonder if I could ask Ms. Wysocki or any other member of the Environment and Land Use Committee, what was the discussion, or there was no new information presented, but there was some discussion about a request from the City of Champaign that we increase our contribution to offset the cost of the recycling drop-off site. How much are we being asked to contribute, and what?
Actually, that was at Finance, and we have not received follow-up information from them, so it has not gone back to committee yet.
Okay, I'm sorry, I saw it on the Environment and Land Use, but
It was on both committee agendas, but Finance asked for follow-up information. It has not yet been received.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to item 13. Ms. McGrath, is this strictly a review of the closed session minutes? We do not have to vote on that, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You have to, you
Okay.
actually have to vote on them.
Okay,
And approve them.
Move approval.
Thank you on all the...
All A through G.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Is there a second? Ms. Wysocki, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Other business. Mr. McGinty.
I recommend adoption of ordinance number 817, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds series 2007A and general obligation bonds series 2007B, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Beckett. I point out that you have a new ordinance number 817 was handed out to you, and do not use the one in the booklet. Discussion, Mr. Beckett, sorry.
Mr. Busey, is this the final step in the process?
We actually had a bond sale today. The closing, upon the board's approval of this ordinance this evening, the closing will be completed next Tuesday. The all-in cost on the issuance of the bonds was 3.9%, which is a very good rate.
Further discussion. Seeing none, call the roll.
McGinty,
Yes.
Moline, Mosher,
Yes.
O'Connor,
Yes.
Putman, Richards,
Yes.
Sapp,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Wysocki,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Beckett,
Yes.
Benzel,
Yes.
Betts, Carter, Cowart, Dennett, Gladney, Gross, Hunt, James,
No.
Jay,
Yes.
Jones, Knott,
Yes.
Langenheim, Weibel.
Yes, motion carries. Okay,
I've got the motion.
Mr. McGinty.
I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1 to consider the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. I further move that the following individuals remain present: the recording secretary and both county administrators.
Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Beckett, Mr. Donitz?
I have a question before we go into closed session.
Sure.
As much as I want to hear information from Mr. Kinlan, and I don't care about what Mr. Sheldon had to say, that's not part of this, but I'm going to appeal the ruling of the chair on his decision to have his explanation in closed session. I don't think that's appropriate. That's not a closed session item.
Beth, you want to?
Mr. Chair, I think that the concern that was raised by yourself in that particular ruling was to make sure that the county complies with the provisions of the administrator contract to say that if there were discussion that were pertinent to the evaluation of the administrators, that take place in closed session. But Mr. Dennett is correct. If there is discussion of an item which is not amenable to the closed session discussion, which that would not be. So in other words, if people want to discuss what was raised in public participation tonight, so long as it did not touch on the matter pertinent to the closed session, which is the evaluation of the administrators, that cannot occur in closed session.
Point of order.
Mr. Beckett.
Mr. Dennis appealed the ruling of the chair. That means that the chair's ruling obviously was that something couldn't be discussed, had to be discussed in closed session. And Mr. Dennett is asking for a vote to overturn the chair's ruling. That's perfect parliamentary procedure. That's what Mr. Dennett says.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Mr. Betts? Ms. McGrath, was this simple,
It just takes a vote.
So
That's
simple
correct.
voice
That's not-
vote?
Yes, sir.
okay, all in favor to overrule the chair's earlier decision? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Show of hands for the ayes. Raise them high.
We were all ayes.
Pardon?
We were all ayes, it's just which question.
The ones to overrule.
Say it again?
The ones to overrule.
Ones to overrule. Hold them high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a majority.
I thought this was uphold. This is
No, this was to overrule.
Overrule. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's enough. It's overruled. I'm overruled. Mr. James, again later. I'm sorry?
So what is it? I wasn't here. What is it?
What, Mr. Betts?
I guess I'm probably the one somewhat
Well, you
responsible.
started the discussion, why don't you
Well,
continue?
I started the discussion only because during public participation, we received that memo and the statement from Mr. Sheldon regarding, one, that the county didn't have its minority hiring list out there, and that the Facilities Committee obviously had not carried through with the plan, and that there had been various Freedom of Information Act requests to Mr. Inman that had been ruled upon, and all I really wanted was an explanation of what was going on. I think I have a fair idea, but I wanted to know, do we have that list of minority contractors? And since we had one point of view from a publican who's also a public official, I felt that it was only fair that Mr. Inman and maybe the facilities chair be given an opportunity to respond, and I know Mr. Beckett wasn't here at the time, to what was said. Just as a matter of fairness, I think that we should find out.
You wish to comment?
Oh, man, no.
Boy, where to begin? And once again, Susan, if I violate the FOIA thing, you got to tell me, because that's my only concern. Anyway, and I took some notes on Mr. Sheldon's comments. Mr. Sheldon, just to reiterate very briefly here, that his project was approved, I believe he stated in September. It was supposed to be done by November 1st, and et cetera. All along, this project had been deemed to be a minority participation project on our part. Alan Reinhardt had done the plans, had done the estimating, et cetera. We believe this particular project was going to be shorter in duration than the original project, mainly for two reasons. Number one, there wasn't an air handling unit involved, and number two, there wasn't any door purchases, which have a long lead time. On this particular project, we requested Bird Construction, Brunson Construction, which has a different name now, but I apologize, but that's who the individual was, and also Jones & Jones Construction. The three firms that I mentioned, two of them have previous experience with the county, Brunson and Jones & Jones. We made an initial phone call to them to see if they're interested and try to set up a time that was convenient for them. We set upon the particular date we did, which, apologize, I cannot recall what it is. And at the time when it came to have this meeting, Bird Construction backed out and Mr. Brunson could not be gotten a hold of. So we ended up with Jones & Jones. And we went through the process of sitting down and going over the plans that were there, going over the cost estimate, facility tour, and having Mr. Jones answer any questions if he had any. Mr. Jones responded on, I believe I said October 7th, with his proposal. It, in fact, was in excess of what we had originally had estimated. So to continue with the program of what we have, which is from top to bottom working with minority firms, learning how for them to work on not major projects, but intermediate projects within the government, all the way from estimating, bidding, reading blueprints, all the way to submitting the final bill. We wanted to work with Mr. Jones on this to make sure that he understood the true scope of that project. I did not contact Mr. Reinhardt today to find out what the current status of it is. I am assuming that we're waiting for Mr. Jones to submit another proposal. Mr. Jones currently is under contract with Illinois State University on another project. So that is one of the issues in the time sequence not quite working out correctly. Another issue that came up was the RPC remodel project, which we have agreed, and with the county board's approval, agreed to assist the RPC on this. We are using our internal forces, and we're using minority firms on this. Now, a change took place that drastically amended this particular project. Mr. J will love this, and I referred to you, Mr. J, when you weren't here, but I think you'll actually like this. Gleason, Hagen, Ramshaw, the mechanical engineers on this project, saved this project approximately $75,000 by being able to use the rooftop units and the existing pod. So that particular work came out of the scope of work. It totally destroyed the schedule that Mr. Reinhardt and I had worked up in trying to incorporate minority firms into this. There are only, to the best of our knowledge, 10 minority general contractor firms in Champaign County. Of those, we are trying to do increments of 3 at a time. The reason for that is many of them are currently under contract, and it would be fruitless to have them waste their time to come in and meet with us and try to get a bid out of them when they know full well that they are under contract either with the U of I or on another project. So what we do is we contact them, ask them of their availability and their staffing levels. So that's how we came upon the initial 3. We will rotate the list to go to another 3 on the next project that comes up. As I mentioned in a report to the policy committee, we have a couple projects coming up in addition to this. Also on our list are carpet installation, which we've used for the CAC and which we're going to use in planning and zoning, and we used in supervisor of assessments. We'll continue to use them in the RPC project and et cetera. That is a brand new firm that is not on the list, but that we came about, who just came into business. Many of the other items on the firm are electrical. Actually, Mr. Carter is still listed on this form as a general contractor, so I think we probably have a little bit of a problem there. Cleaning services, excavating, trucking, those type of things, landscaping, repair and refinishing of bathtubs, general carpentry, electrical supplies, locksmith, and some of those others make up the list. Now, on this list, which originally was 42, tonight I canvassed it again and removed 5, and that leaves about 37. Of those 37, I can't tell you exactly how many are MBE and FBE. It is a combined list. But regardless, we're going to go through it and try to use them as much as possible. Particularly what will be coming up will be the cleaning aspect in our different construction projects, cleaning services. For those who have fond memories of the nursing home project, you may remember what a chore it was to clean up the building just to get it ready to be inspected, let alone occupancy. I think on the as for the bidding of it, once again, on these projects, it is not like bidding the copiers or bidding trucks or cars or something along that line. You do not end up with a manual. You end up with a set of drawings with notes on it. Anybody who has seen blueprints understands what I'm talking about. Those are significant to those folks who run their business. Not to pick on Mr. Benzel there, but I think he knows what I'm talking about. You take a look at a set of blueprints and you can understand the scope of work from the set of blueprints. If you don't, then you have a person that you contact and you ask and you get a clarification. You then dismiss yourself, go away, think about it for a while, take a look at what your staffing levels are, and then take a look at that project again and submit a proposal for it. And then you work in a give and take kind of basis with the person you're going to contract with. I seriously doubt, after working on this for quite a few years now, that we're going to be in a position at any time where all the stars and everything align correctly that we're going to get 3 competing bids. I just don't. I think the minority firms that are out there are going to be under contract a lot of times. The fall is probably the best time because people are looking for work over the winter time. We have schedule slip with this. We don't want it to be, but I think that is one of the issues that you face when you work with new firms. They're well intended to be here last week, but they have a contract with Illinois State University, and I think you sometimes get caught in the position of, well, which one am I going to live up to, and which one am I going to make a little bit irritated? I think the same situation would happen if you went to contract with U of I or any other place like that. So I think that is just something we will have to work on. And it's not our intent on purpose to have the schedule slip, but it is just the way we know the system right now. And that's an unfortunate answer I have to give you, but I think it's a reality of the situation. Trying to think of what else here. This pre-qualified vendor list came about through 3 sources: the University of Illinois, the Capital Development Board, and Champaign County.
Kenny?
Yes, sir.
Real quick, can I ask you, because there was a point made about whether this was on our website.
It is not on our website.
Okay.
It is not on our website.
Is it intended to be on there at some point?
Yes, it will be. This is one aspect of, I'm just going to say it, it's one aspect of my performance that I'm not proud of and that I failed horribly at. This is not on the website. The application is not on the website. But I will, how do I want to say? I will augment those statements by saying to you, despite that, we have increased our minority participation approximately from 1/8 in some of our initial projects, from 1/8 up to 1/5, and in some cases up to 1/3. And so I am one person doing this, and I have some assistance from Ms. Talbot and from Mr. Reinhardt, but some things just, I guess, I don't want to use the word slip, but some things just don't get done when you want them to get done. And that's not an excuse, and I'm not going to give you an excuse. I'm going to give you the reality of the situation. We will be working with the university on what I hope is a combined relationship on our website. So they can use their process to update it, we can use our process to update it, and we all have all agencies, government agencies and institutions within Champaign County can look to that, because there is not one currently. The City of Champaign has requested that we do this. They, who have greater resources than we do not have something along this line. It was just by chance, by working with Ms. Coleman at the U of I on our, initially, way a long time ago, wasn't known as the Construction Education Task Force, but on other issues that we came upon in using this. And she has no qualms about the university participating with us on these kind of joint ventures. Their approach to it is different than ours, but I think that can be resolved. I think I'll leave it at that because I think I've covered almost all my points. Go ahead.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, Mr. Inman, when you said in the meeting, in the Facilities Committee meeting, you gave a date when you were expecting construction to begin, and then you said there was some delay from the contractor. Did you contact the county clerk and right away and let him know there was going to be a delay, or did it all have to come from him that he's emailing Beckett and all this about? I mean, did you let him know there's going to be a delay right away so he knows what's going on?
No, I'll use the term correctly, assumed that Mr. Reinhardt had done that.
Okay.
Mr. Carter first.
The university is a partner or a participant in trying to increase the minority contractor participation.
No, they don't.
What?
Where do they come from?
Mr. Carter, I can only tell you what we've been doing.
Wait,
Now-
please, let me tell you the law. How big a job is that to put some doors and windows out here so we can get our voting booths where they, that's what we're talking about?
Yes, it is. It is.
How
We
much
estimate it at
how
about
much is that?
$10,000. $10,000.
Then, you can give that to anybody, and I'll get you the laws. You do it. It's not $25,000, so you don't have to meet that criteria. That's wrong. Well, show it to me. Y'all get the book and show that to me.
$20,000.
20,000, that's five,
That's exactly what Mr.
20,000.
Emmett is saying. We're trying to place this contract. We're trying to increase minority participation.
Well, what I'm saying is, if it's under 25, you don't have to
$20,000,
$20,000, Mr.
public
Carter.
well, you don't have to put it in the newspaper.
We're not.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr.
If I
McGrath.
may.
Why you can't get somebody to do it?
to
Mr.
answer
Emmons trying
Mr. Carter's question, the county's purchasing policy states specifically that if you have a project that will be less than $20,000, you are not required to bid the project. The outline that Mr. Inman gave you tonight of what happens at that point is you solicit bids from 3 of the firms on that pre-qualified vendor list. That's what your purchasing policy
Qualified.
says. Pre-qualified.
Pre-qualified.
Yes, sir. Vendor list.
For what? See,
Yeah.
this is a game being played, you all.
It's in the purchasing policy, Mr. Carter, which says that you're soliciting proposals for the work from your pre-qualified vendor
But
list.
who you supposed to be pre-qualified with? Champaign County, the state,
Mr. Beckett, go ahead.
We adopt, Mr. Carter, you'll remember this because you asked us to do it. We created a list of pre-qualified vendors who the county would do business with.
Right.
Denny Inman has that list. Have you looked at it?
I haven't, but I probably.
Okay, I think you should, because then I think you'd understand. And Helen Coleman at the University of Illinois, who also has a pre-qualified vendor program, helped provide some of the names of those vendors that are on the list and the kind of services that they do, like carpet laying or electrical. I mean, they still got you on their list.
Sure,
Okay,
because we
that's
had
great.
a statewide, this is what I'm trying to tell y'all. You
Okay, well,
got-
we have a countywide program, and you voted for it.
Right.
Good.
My point is, though, why you can't get somebody on the job?
Well,
Well, we're trying to get somebody on the job.
Well, it's taking you till.
We're in the midst of negotiations to get this person on the job. Let us get it done.
Why don't you take him along?
Mr. Benzel?
I had another point. Remember?
okay, Mr. Beck.
Mr. Jones, I want to make sure you understand. Mr. Sheldon did not send me an email and ask me what's going on with this. I got copied on an email that was a FOIA request, and my response was, I'm sorry, Mr. Sheldon, I don't keep county records, and I'm not going to respond to your FOIA request. That's what created the exchange between Mr. Sheldon and I. If Mr. Sheldon had picked up the phone and said to me, hey, Steve, will you find out what's happened with this October 15th date, I would have done it. Unfortunately, Mark and I don't operate that way, and that's just too bad.
Mr. Benzel, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to make this brief because I have to leave. My daughter's waiting for me to come home and help with homework, so I'm out of here in just a few minutes. My question really has to do with, and it has nothing to do with whether they started on the 15th or not, because Mr. Inman's exactly right. Contractors find themselves in those positions all the time. I was there so many times I hate to even think about it, but you find yourself juggling jobs trying to figure out how can I get people to the right place at the right time to make everybody happy, and it just simply doesn't happen. So that being said, that part of it doesn't really mean a whole lot to me right now. But I guess I'm curious how, if the transcript we were given here from the Facilities Committee on October 2nd is correct, how did we reach an agreement with Jones & Jones Construction on October 1st when we didn't receive any bid documents or any proposals or anything until October 7th? How could that possibly be?
My choice of words probably don't match what everybody else thinks of it as an agreement. In this context, here's what I meant. I meant that we met with him, went through the project, and he agreed to take on the project. We came to terms that he would commit his forces to get this done during the period of October and November. We had to work out the financial aspects of it, but he had committed to the project, and that's what I meant by agreement. And I understand it's not what you may think of as an agreement. That's what we think of as an agreement.
Is that all, Mr. Spencer?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Further discussion on this matter? Mr. James?
Well, thank you. This sounds about like some of our bigger projects, and I was in strong hopes, and I had given Steve some list of people that I've dealt with as minority contractors and what have you. I thought when I asked this question, we were given this time frame, and you stated that he was going to be finishing up some work and then moving on. And I, like Ron, know that you can't be everywhere at one time. Excuse me. But it seems like we need, when we do a contract, I mean, we should build in some leeway or do some things. But when we're telling people, if you would have that night said, we're working with the gentleman, not all the I's have been dotted, not all the T's have been crossed, I could live with that. But when I ask a question, somebody says, well, they're going to wrap up their job over here and they're going to start here, it almost sounds like sometimes the county just lets things go. And we've had some other examples of that, bigger jobs, and we need to be more vigilant with that. We need to make sure that when we are doing this and we are trying to create new ways for vendors to come in, that they know that we're going to pay them on time, which we do, because as we've been told, if we don't pay certain lawyers and what have you, we get in a mess there. But this is not something new. I mean, we've been dealing with contracts. We've been talking about it. And it just seems like we should have it right by now. And words or no words or some of this political patter that goes around is crazy, but we really all need to work together and I mean, swallow our pride or whatever the word may be, but work together and get these things done for the good of the county, not for the good of whose ever party. So I would hope in the future that when questions are asked, just be honest about it. And I know that's hard on everybody's part sometimes, but look people in the eye and say, you know what, we're working on it. We'll get you an answer as soon as we can. And if they don't like that, that's too bad.
Mr. Jones?
I just want to say again, I just think a lot of this conflict could be avoided if we took the time to have some communication. I just seems to me that it should be obvious that the county clerk is going to be anxious to have this space done with the election coming up in 3 months, and that if he's expecting work to be done and the work's not done, I would expect that he's going to be upset that it's not done, especially given the history that's gone on recently. And I just think that we need to, going forward, have more open communication. If things are said that are going to be done and they're not done, let people know about it so that we don't have FOIA requests and emails going back and forth and all that. I think we just could avoid a lot of this conflict. And I just think our county needs to function better, and we need to, like Stan said, we need to get along and get business done. And if things aren't getting done, let's tell each other why it's not happening, whether it's county clerk or RPC or whoever's wanting work done.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Beckett?
Communication's a two-way street. Mr. Sheldon wants to know something. I've told him to his face, pick up the phone, come and see me. I'll find out the answers. If there's some reason why, and I think it's one of the things that we'll talk about where communication is an issue, do it. Don't the next day file a FOIA request. I think that's burdensome on the county. Mr. Sheldon's position is that's the only way I have force of law behind my requests. Hey, fine, I'm not going to argue with you if that's what you want to do. That creates this nice adversity that we're talking about, Brad. It's political games as far as I'm concerned. I'd much rather get to the bottom of it and get his job done. That's what I want to do. I don't want to play FOIA games.
Further discussion? Mr. McGinty? Closed session.
You've already made the motion.
Okay, well, we
the
just have to
motion is
vote.
still on the floor.
Ms. Chair,
where are we?
Chair Weibel, I'd like to actually modify the motion because part of that intention was to have the administrators here, and there's no longer need. Ms. McGrath, how do you recommend? Do I just restate? Well, okay, I'll withdraw the original motion and restate.
Correct.
I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1 to consider the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. Further move that the following individuals remain present: the recording secretary, and I so move.
Second, Mr. Beckett. Roll call.
McGinty?
Yes.
Moline? Mosier? O'Connor?
Going to go past 10 o'clock with this?
You actually waived your 10 o'clock rule, Mr. O'Connor.
Putman? Richards?
Yes.
Sapp? Schrader? Wysocki?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Beckett?
Yes.
Benzo? Betts? Carter? Cowart? Dinitz?
Yes.
Gladney? Gross? Hunt? James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott?
He said yes.
Thanks. Langenheim?
Yes.
Weibel?
Yes, we're in closed session.